So we're going to talk about what's been going on in the flat Earth community recently, and I'm going to talk about that. So first off, how did we become flat Earthers? We didn't want to become flat Earthers. I don't know anybody. I literally don't know a single person who was like, yes, that sounds great. I'll be socially ostracized and outcast, and then I'll say the thing that everybody hates, and that I actually don't think that this is a spinning ball and space is fake and NASA's full of shit. Is like, none of us wanted to do that. There's not a single person that I know that was excited to come out publicly and say the thing that was going to make you look like a fucking idiot to everybody and your brother. Nobody. Name one person. Maybe Nathan Thompson. God forbid him. Anyway. Bless his heart. But we were forced to do it. All of us, they're just honest with our souls, our minds, our hearts, God. We had to. It's like, why? Well, because of this shit. I don't care what CGI you send me. I don't care what the sun is doing in the south. I don't give a shit what ISS this and cars on Mars. I don't care about any of that. This is your flat, stationary plane that God has placed down for you, and I'm pretty sure He domed this baby, and that's where you live. And apparently. The powers that be really, really, really don't want you to know that. So, now, I am a Christian. Now, there's a lot of Christians out there. No, he's not. He's a Satan. Whatever, right? And of course, we do have a different understanding of Christianity. We very, very, very much have a different understanding of this book than pretty much most Christians I know out there. All that sort of stuff. And we recognize that. We openly talk about that. We write about it. And we're totally fine with that. That's just our religious beliefs. That's my religious belief. Now, maybe that's crazy. Okay. Do you know what else is crazy? Literally everybody else's belief. Mormonism, fucking what? Right? Like the 1,000 brands and flavors of Christianity, and like you all believe. Wait, you guys are honoring the Sabbath? Why? Jesus didn't even. He went into the synagogue and was up turning tables and shit. Like what? None of that makes sense to any of us. Okay, us here in the little Gnostic camp, all 18 of us or whatever, right? So none of that makes sense to us. But that's fine. You can have your crazy beliefs. Some people don't believe there's a God. Some people use their own intelligence to look upon the nature in which they were born and claim it's unintelligent. That seems crazy to me. I mean, shit, maybe this is all nuts. Okay, maybe all the religions are nuts. But the idea that this wasn't created or that there's some that to me is absolutely fucking nuts. But people have that belief. Do you ever see me go to like MC Toon's channel, or have you ever seen a video from this channel being like, Dave McKeegan is an idiot? No, because I'm like, well, okay, you have those beliefs. How many billions of people are on this earth? How many billions of people have crazy-ass beliefs? Everybody? Okay. So, but for some reason, out of all the crazy shit that people believe, for some reason, the powers that be really, really don't like this one. That crazy belief. And the rooster's giving me an amen. Now, my belief just stems from the Bible, like I said. Now, it actually doesn't. As I've said before, I'm going to offend some Christians here. I don't give a shit what this says. I actually do, of course. We study it all the time. I'm intensity intensities with this thing all the time. We've done entire books of the Bible studying it in depth, so I obviously care. But at the end of the day, if this here doesn't match my reality, I don't give a shit what this says. Luckily, this thing here tells us a whole bunch of ways that we're not spinning, circular, ball, tilted, 137.5, all of that. Clearly says it's that. So that's a religious belief. That's what it is. It's also scientific to me, but we don't even have to talk about that. That's just my belief. Now, of course, who cares about my Christian beliefs? We are also Gnostics, and we also honor a lot of the other great traditions of the world. In fact, when I was on the Flat Earth Roundtable with like Sean Griffin and Dave and, Conspiracy Music Guru was there and stuff like that. In fact, I pulled up a bunch of books from my shelf that was like, hey, the Poetic Edda. Hey, these guys believe the earth was flat too. Hey, here's the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Guess what? They told us it was like 4 corners flat, that sort of thing. Hey, here's the Mayan. Do we honor the Mayan people? Yeah, we've done entire live streams on it. We that sort of thing. Did entire deconstructions of their calendars and stuff. Yeah, guess what they thought? Earth is flat. How about the Lakota? What did they think? How about those Ojibwe? What did they think? Yeah, they all thought it was flat. Okay, so regardless of my religious beliefs, as somebody who actually studies and appreciates all these other cultures, and by the way, I'm mixed race. I know I'm very whitey, right? Very much. But I have Menominee blood in me. There. This is part of my heritage. This is part of my tradition. Do you know what they thought? Those dumb Indians. They thought the earth was flat. So I'm just honoring my traditions here. Now maybe that's crazy. Okay, fine. But I guess all of those traditions, all of those people, they were all just anti-science. They were all just dumb as fuck. Well, I guess that's my tradition. I'm also Irish, so, that's not really that shocking. So this is a lot of these are my ancestors. These are people these are traditions and things like that I herald and appreciate. And then, of course, we were given maps that seem like, whoa, maybe this is actually what the Earth looks like. Now, of course, we've been told that the A map is dead. The A map doesn't work. We'll get into that. Okay? And like I said, at the end of the day, Flat Earth is a spiritual journey. That's what it is. We also found out that a lot of these flat earthers actually aren't on a spiritual journey. We found out that they came to this little knowledge of God's true home, and then they became raging fucking dickbags about it. They became self-righteous and arrogant and shit on other people. Well, that's not what that's for. Okay. We found that out at TFE. I didn't even give a shit about the final experiment at all. We didn't talk about it. I didn't make one single post about it. I didn't care at all. Somehow, through this thing, I got drug into it, and then people were like, Marty's questionable. You're an asshole. I didn't even want anything to do with this. Nothing. Didn't care. And my congregation has the history of that. So I made this video a long time ago when I was still in Hawaii eating that fresh pineapple. Baby, remember? Remember the fresh pineapple and the frickin' breadfruit?
Just whatever.
You know what I'm saying? God bless. So I made a video a long time ago saying flat Earth is not about the Earth being flat. The geometric shape, once again, we could live on Earth Mobius strip, where it's like gravity just works on the one side, and it wouldn't be about the Mobius strip at all. It's not about that at all. What is flat Earth about? And this is the post I made. Flat Earth is not about the shape of the Earth. It's not about the shape. It's about the lie. That's what it's about. Our cosmology is being manipulated, stolen from us through immense propaganda, endless programming, and mass hypnosis. This is why it's important. We are it. The created. At the center of it all. The perpetrators of such a deception have convinced us that we are monkeys cast out in an infinite void, a hurtling asteroid flung from the far end of our galaxy could end the whole human experiment in an instant, they say. And what have I said? What are they preparing you for? All the movies, all the propaganda. There's a comet. There's an asteroid coming. That should shut up the flat earthers, right? Well, God, I don't want to make that prediction. I don't want to put that out into the world. I'm not. Hollywood is. And the whole thing is one giant lie. Think that's crazy? That's fine. That's fine. I have a religious belief, though. That's fine if you think that's crazy. We already know you think it's crazy. That's fine. No big deal. But we're going to say what we need to say. So it's not about the shape of the earth, capiche? It's not about the shape. Okay, end with a little rant here. 2 things. Damn, it feels good to live on God's green earth. God's flat green earth. And damn, it feels good to be a gangsta. So there's that. So what I learned in this TFE thing, which I wanted nothing to do with, I didn't care about it at all. I didn't want to give it any attention. I only got drawn into this thing because apparently, as I've said before, sometimes the truth community needs like a principal to walk in and be like, hey, this is a shit show. And as I've come to find, I think I'm that guy. Once again, I didn't even want to be, but apparently all this stuff is end up filtering through me, and I feel like I'm not even driving anymore. And here's me in the car, and this is why we're doing this today. I wanted nothing to do with this. I didn't give a fuck about Will Duffy. I didn't give a fuck about... You could tell me that the sun is dancing, with maracas and like Mexican polka music is jamming and the sun's doing this in Antarctica, and I would still be like, well, that shit's flat. I don't give a shit what they saw. And as we're finding out today, that whole thing right there, we'll get to that. You want to hate me, world? I'm a target? You think I'm crazy? Well, I also read my book. I read that old good book. And by the way, all you Christians out there, let me make this very clear. Let me make this very clear. To any of you Christians that have had anything negative or critical to say about me whatsoever, you shall know them by their fruits. Have you ever seen the fruits of this church and Marty Leeds? John 15:18. This was going to be the next chapter we're going to do, but I'm taking a break. If the world hate you, ye know that it hated me before it hated you. Oh, like my friend said, like my friend Jay Dizzle, I'll call him. He said, hey man, to be hated in this world, that just probably means you're sainted, right? The angel wings God's just waiting to slap those on your back, right? To be hated, demeaned, belittled, and attacked in this world, that's an honor. That's an honor. Why do I know that? That old Jesus guy told me. He's like, hey, here's a little nugget of information you might need in your time. Bloop. Okay, cool. Okay. So, hate me, world. I think that probably means I might be doing something right. Especially if I'm a target, that probably means I'm doing something right. Hey, all you feds listening, go fucking suck a bag of dicks. So then I found out, through this whole thing, which we'll discuss today, that my friend was most assuredly part of this attack. And things are getting really sketchy in the world when an Irishman and a Jew get together to help each other. It's like, whoa, what's going on here? I know, it's crazy. So, sorry, every time I can make fun of the Jews and the Irishmen, I'm doing it. So, Dave has a little app here called the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac app. And I've promoted it on my show. And you say, why? Because Dave pays me $18,000 a month. No, Dave doesn't pay me shit. Why do I do this? Well, because I knew one thing. Number one, Dave Weiss has continually over the years always shown support. Always. Whether it's just like, hey, no, Marty's the shit. Marty's like, no, Marty's legit. Right? He's always shown support. In fact, when this church got going, he was the one that was like, hey, man, you get people to donate. This is worth donating. Make sure people are giving you $5-10 here and there because you're sticking your neck out there and you're providing unbelievable amounts of clarity. You should be paid for that. And me and my dumbass is like, well, I'm like, that kind of thing. Because I don't care about, I've never done anything for money. Never. Not once. I never did one thing because I'm like, that'll make me a bunch of money. Never. Okay? Well then, why do I promote Dave's app? Because I want you guys to think about something. I want you to think about this real good, okay? Flat Earth has been wiped from the web. We already know that all the social media companies and things like that, they shadow ban, they block, they censor, they kick people off. You can't find them. You search Flat Earth. Anybody that does this, a million videos come up from Professor Douchebag Dave. And there's like, oh, look, it's over. Flat Earth is done. So we already know that the entire machine that is the governments of the world have come down on Flat Earth to make sure that nobody finds it. And this fucking Jew, one fucking Jew, Dave, did what? He came up with the workaround. He was like, oh, okay. It was like, oh, you know what? There's a there's a loophole here somewhere. And his loophole is the app. So you can't find Flat Earth content anywhere. You go right to his app, and you know what you can find? All of it. Dave, with his stupid little app there, subverted the entirety of their machine. They want this destroyed so bad. And all this guy had to do was make an app and be like, hey, you can find Taboo Conspiracy here, and then here's Space Busters and fucking whatever. One dude. Their entire machine came down on this entire movement. And what did it take to subvert it? An app? Do you know what that told me? And it screamed it in my ear, guys. Their shit's flimsy as fuck. They don't actually have a grip on this stuff at all. And it's actually really easy to upturn this fucking apple cart. But in order to do that, we're going to need a lot more men out there. We're going to need a lot more people realizing what's at stake. We're going to need a lot more people willing to stand up and stand out and say, I don't give a shit. And this is why I started with my whole sabbatical thing, because I realized that when I turned the other day and I looked back and I said, well, who's there? Oh, you know who I found out was there? Mark Sargent, DTWeiss. I've spoken to Mark Sargent like 3-4 times in my life before this week, and now I'm like, Mark, you're kind of a friend. I'm like, we should hang out. So I got to see real quick who was on the side of truth. It was real easy to see too. So they hate this so much, and that's all it took to subvert their shit. And now look at the attacks that are made. His app is like, well, the app is like, he's under full-time attack. It's a DIY thing, man. He's doing it all on his own shoulders, on his own dime. And what is it? Grifter, blah, blah, blah. Wow, that's all it took? You have the entire machine coming down on this movement, and that's what it took to go, boop. Interesting, isn't it? So, Dave, as we know, Dave is David Schulweiss, Flat Earth Rabbi in my phone. I'll only call him that from now on. So, we already know what the Flat Earth results look like. We already know that when you look in the search engine, then it's like, oh, that's all retarded. You guys are a bunch of retards. Okay, fine. That's fine. And so, of course, then they made the final experiment. And for those of you that don't know, I'm sure everybody that's watching this knows, that basically this Will Duffy guy came out and was like, I'm really concerned about the shape of the earth. I'm a pastor in Colorado, and I'm really concerned about the shape of the earth. And so this guy, as we'll see, he had a lot of financial issues, and next thing you know, he's going to put all of his money to solve this thing that we should be able to just fly. NASA, fly a fucking drone down to Antarctica and follow the sun and record it the entire time. You tell me you have all this technology and stuff like that. We can't get that. We have to, as I've said, we have to get a freaking ragtag group of YouTubers to go down there and fucking figure this thing out. Are you kidding me? I'm not that stupid. And so they called it the final experiment, and we're saying, well, all of us scientific-minded people are like, which is it? Is it an observation or is it an experiment? Is it evidence or is it just because this is the whole scientific protocol thing, right? This is the process in which you're supposed. So you go like, see, we're gonna observe something, and then we're gonna question it, and then we're gonna get a hypothesis, and then we got to test that hypothesis with some experiments. Then from the experiment, we get the analysis and the conclusion. Then we have to say, oh, does that conclusion fit the observation? So was this the final experiment, or was it the final observation? Us non-retards realized that's word trickery. And anybody that knew, and this is why we didn't give it any fuel whatsoever, that is like, oh, okay, well that doesn't make any sense. Is it a final experiment? Is it a final observation? Can you even experiment on the sun? So what we found is that lately there's been some people that have come out, and this is what we're going to talk about today, that out of nowhere, basically like, flat Earth is retarded. It's over. And so a lot of people got mad at them. A lot of people got mad at these people, which we'll talk about in just a second, and said, you lost your soul, and you sold out to the devil, and other sort of stuff, and that sort of thing. And there's some truth to that. There is some truth to that. And it has really nothing to do with the shape of the earth, as we'll come to find. Actually, that doesn't really matter. And I actually told that to Paul on the plane when I spoke to him, which we'll get into a bit. But you make your bed, you lie in it. Now, that's not some threat. That's just what goes on down here. That's kind of the thing. And that's one of the things that was kind of scary to me, to, as a non, religious person growing up, and then to come to that truth is like, oh yeah, all that shit you did down here, you're gonna have to own up for. It's like, oh shit, the 20s is going to be pretty difficult. That year of cocaine in Colorado isn't going to sit well with God, is it? No, whatever, right? That sort of thing. So we all know this. So it's not some threat. It's just like, hey, that's kind of the thing down here. So those people that did turn on flat earth and said, well, it's all bullshit, you guys are all a cult right now. Well, I think you should need to know that there's an important part of the story of the Bible, of Judas, right? And this is when we covered it, this is what I said, that Judas, in his story of Judas Iscariot, is that he walked with Christ and then he sold him out, which means when we talk about Christ, it means you walked in truth. You walked in it. You saw it. You knew it in the center of your head. You knew it in the center of your heart. It reverberated through your fucking fingertips, right? You knew the truth. There was no question about it, and you walked with it, and you walked in it for years. And then, for some money, because you were scared, whatever it is, then the Judas ended up selling Christ out. And I said this, that Judas put himself back further on the spiritual process of reincarnation on earth. And I said this, that for Judas, because he walked in the truth and then turned, this is before I had ever heard of any of this stuff. This is what I said. I said it would have been better if he had never been born. Because if you had never been born, and then you come into this world and you're ignorant, God can forgive ignorance. Oh, he didn't know. He just didn't, at the time, that sort of stuff. I get that. But if you know and you walk in truth and then you turn your back on it, that's when God's wrath actually comes down. And the wrath isn't actually from God, it's from you. This is, of course, Judas, the several stories. Hey, what will you give me, and I will deliver him unto you? And they covenanted him with 30 pieces of money. Judas had the bag. He had the bag that had the money in it. He said Judas didn't care for the poor. He was a thief, and he had the bag. So basically, it's like, hey, for that material, this temporary, oh so temporary existence, you sold out the truth. You sold out your own soul. You sold out everything. So for a little money, a little crypto. Few dimes or whatever, right? And the thing that this is the story is that when I said it's not actually God's wrath that comes down on you, I mean, it is in one way, but do you know what actually comes down on you? Your own conscience, your own soul, your own consciousness will get to you. This is the story of Judas Iscariot. After he sold out, and this is why this is a lesson in Judas Iscariot today, is when after he sold out the truth that ended up, taking him to the cross and everything like that. There's the guy on the right. It's like the demons are eating him from the inside out. He had to hang himself. Why? Because his consciousness laid on him. It was such a weight. You were so close to the truth. You were helping spread the truth. You knew the truth in the center of your being. You told everybody. You spent years. And now you're going to turn away from it and not think that your consciousness is not going to get to you. It will. Who gives a shit what Marty Leeds has to say about this? This is why we're given these stories. The only thing you take with you when you leave here, ladies and gentlemen, the only thing you take with you is your consciousness. You don't get to take your money, your fat houses, your BMW, your crypto. Do you got that nice set of guitars that you bought? None of it goes with you. The only thing you take with you is your consciousness. This is something Jennifer and I saw when we were in Germany, when we were doing our little promenade around Germany and going to all the cathedrals. Yes, that's what we do on vacation, right? It's not even a vacation. We work our ass off so that you guys can get a virtual tour of those cathedrals and actually get an understanding of what they mean. Can I get an amen from my church? Anybody that's in here that watched any of those, can I get a fat amen? Thank you. This is what one of the things said. This was in Worms. Is that how you say that, baby? Worms? Yeah. Germany. This is where Luther, Lutheranism, that sort of thing. Luther ended up his reign. Last book he made was called On the Jews and Their Lies. So he came and was like, hey, the church is corrupt as fuck. And so they let everybody know. And he was obviously a big mystic and stuff like that. So there's that. But this is one of the statues there in Worms. And it said, whoever understands Christianity rightly, no human charter will be able to take them captive. You can't take captive an eternal spark of God within you, can you? Nope, that's not a thing. They are free, not according to the flesh. Why are we not free according to the flesh? Well, we already talked about that. Because if you're actually out there speaking Christ, speaking truth, the world hates you. But you are free according to the conscience. You're free according to your conscience. If people know, and then they turn from the truth, and they know how important that truth actually is, I won't need to do anything. I won't have to say anything. I don't have to go to their channel. I don't have to be like, la 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 la. Because you know what I know will get to them eventually? The only thing that you thing you take with you, your consciousness. Your conscience. That's what will ultimately, you think you're free now. You turn from the truth. You think you're free now, whatever that is. Guess what? Let the days roll on. Let the months roll on. Let the years roll on. Let you get closer, your skin starts getting all wrinkly, you're sagging over, you can barely get up, you're taking your Metamucil, you shit yourself once a week. You know, when you get to that stage and you realize that you're about to cross the gates of death, you'll have to look back at all of those years of that conscience that started weighing on your shoulders, and weighing on them, and weighing on them, and weighing on them. And then that weight's going to be so great, and then you have to take that weight to God and say, this is what I did. This is why we're given the story of Judas Iscariot. What got to him? So, explaining what we're about to explain moving forward, this is what this church is going to do. We're going to do everything with the most amount of heart we could possibly do it with. That's what we're going to do. And if in a month I come back and, which I'm sure we will in some capacity, this is what I will expect. This is what I will expect from anybody that shows up at this church. Anybody moving forward. And that's a full heart. Even to people that we're very angry with, even with people that are our enemies, even with people that may have screwed us over. We're going to do what Christians should do. And what I'm going to command, I'm going to expect all of these flat earthers to do, especially you Christians, right? You're Christians, right? Okay. Start fucking acting like it then. Shower these people with love. A deluge of love. That's the only thing that will come out of this church. Anybody that's, I watch Marty and then I see you be like, yeah, you're this person, I'll boot your ass out. I don't care if there's 13 people left. I don't care if there's 12. We get some disciples or something. I don't know, okay? Moving forward here in what we're about to discuss, I am not going to jump to any conclusions at all. And I expect you guys not to either. But we have to talk about what we have to talk about, because I'll say this. Let's just say we're going to call this a Schumer. Something smells fishy. Something doesn't smell right here. And when something doesn't smell right, we call it a dirty Schumer. That's what we call that right there. So conspiracy music guru, next time you fart, he's like, did you just Schumer? Jesus Christ. Anyway. So, something smells fishy here, and we're just going to talk about it, okay? I got to thank Andrew Wilson and Made by Jim Bob here. I can't believe I'm doing this, but I actually have to thank these guys. And it's just, this is what it is. And you always wonder why people come into your life, right? Like, you always wonder, like, why do I get, why am I talking to Mark Sargent right here? Why do I got the Jew in Mexico? Why did I meet this? You always wonder why people show up in your life. At least I do, right? And especially people that I find really fucking annoying. So, and people that haven't been honest with what we do at fucking all. Right, gentlemen? Yeah, we know. But I did learn one thing from Made by Jim Bob and Andrew Wilson, and their little debate tactics and things that they do all the time. And that's how to grant people things and be charitable to them when having some sort of discussion or a debate or an argument. That's one thing I learned. And so that's what I'm going to... So thanks, Andrew Wilson, and thanks, Made by Jim Bob, for your insights. And then the rest of that about trashing on what we do here, you're a bunch of blowhards. So there's that. But so I will thank those guys, because moving forward, I'm going to be full heart. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this old fat Irish Wisconsinite heart, and I'm just going to plop it on the table here. That's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to grant everybody what we're going to talk about moving forward. I'm going to grant the most I can possibly do. I'm going to be as charitable as I possibly can. I'm not going to make any accusations. I'm not going to jump to conclusions, and I'm just going to say, moving forward, that I believe you guys. Okay? We'll get back to that. And I'm going to invite, not for the next month, because you're not going to hear from me, because I'm taking a sabbatical, but after that, I'm going to offer Paul on the Plane and Robbie Davidson onto this channel right here, this church service, for a live church service, so we can have an open conversation about all this stuff. No accusations, not jumping to conclusions, all of that sort of stuff. And in fact, I will say this. We're going to be discussing Mr. Robbie Davidson, and I'll explain who these people are. Mr. Robbie Davidson, Mr. Paul on the Plane. We'll be discussing a lady named Patricia Steer moving forward. I'm just going to say this. Anytime I talk with you guys, if I ever have a conversation with Jaron Campanella, I'm just going to let you guys know I'm off flat Earth. When I just specifically, I'm obviously not, right? Because no one is. But specifically, if I ever have a conversation with Mr. Robbie Davidson, Mr. Paul on the Plane, Mrs. Patricia Steer, or Jaron Campanella, I'm not going to argue flat Earth with you guys. I will just be charitable. I'll just grant everything. Yep, we're on a ball. I know it all too. I actually learned that shit. So it's not, we're like Earth, we're tilted 23.4, 1,037.5 miles at the equator, turning clockwise and 93 million miles away from the sun. It's like 864,000 miles in diameter, and the moon is 2,160 miles in diameter. It's like 400 times smaller, and the moon is 238,000 miles away. I know all that shit. I can dance that dance. So anytime that I talk or have any communication whatsoever with any of these people, I am no longer a flat earther. I'm with you. I'm on the ball. For the sake of that conversation. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because I'm going to be as charitable as possible. I'm going to grant everything. I'm going to stick that stupid Irish heart on the table and say, I believe you guys. Okay? And I will say this, once again, this is what we will be moving forward with this church. It's a Bonnieism. Jennifer, you know the Bonnieism, right?
Which one?
I'll let my wife catch up. More love, more joy, more happiness. I couldn't wait for the cue, baby. Okay? Good thing this isn't a theater production. Good Lord. So, and I'm going to say this, ask not what Christ can do for you, but what you can do for Christ. In other words, not ask what truth can do for you. Oh, I know this truth. Maybe I can network and make a bunch of crypto and a bunch of money and shit. Or whatever. Ask not what Christ can do for you. He already's done enough, hasn't he? He's sacrificed his entire life for you. What are you going to do for Christ now? That's my question. So, what are we talking about here? Recently, Jaron Campanella, after coming back from the flat earth, or the final experiment, where they saw a 24-hour sun down there. And he came back and he decided, well, that was it. That's enough to say flat earth is dead. You know, all the other 10,000 proofs about, the Rocky Mountain evidence of flat earth, all of that doesn't mean anything. It's all dead. It's all stupid. The sun, we saw this observation, was an experiment observation. I'm not sure. Doesn't matter. It's doing this thing. And so therefore, Jaron is off flat earth now, right? And we're like, okay, well, okay, fine, whatever. Like, most people I know don't even give a shit. Whatever, it's fine. We still have our religious beliefs. We still have our scientific beliefs. We still have our beliefs in general, as crazy as they may be. But then, all of a sudden, recently, a few characters named Robbie Davidson, Paul on the Plane, and Patricia Steer just recently came out, all at once, together, and started saying the exact same things. Flat Earth is retarded. It's a cult. The AE map is no longer valid. Out of nowhere. And everybody was like, wait, what's going on? None of this makes any sense. And I tell you what, I didn't even give two shits about this at all. Even this. Until I saw Paul on the Plane get involved. And I said, that's not right. There's nothing that you could possibly tell me to make sense, any rational or reasonable sense, as to why specifically Paul on the plane would come out and start going to Jaron Campanella's channel and promoting Jaron Campanella. And I said this last live stream, and I said, you know why that didn't make any sense? Because Paul's a Christian. Robbie Davidson's a Christian. Now, regardless of what the shape of the earth is, and I said this to Paul when I spoke to him, why would you guys, out of nowhere, all of a sudden show up at Jaron Campanella's channel when Jaron Campanella has made numerous videos and just said it in one of the other recent live stream about essentially paraphrasing here that Christianity's retarded? Regardless of the shape of the earth, why would two hardline, longtime Christians show up at Jaron's little channel there and start promoting Jaron, regardless of the shape of the earth? Because, once again, I wouldn't do that. I don't mind going on Jaron's channel, and I've done that before. We'll probably talk about that moving forward. No problem there, because I want to support the community and things like that, right? Well, that's not what this is right now. This is them going to the channel and being like, yeah, I'm on Jaron's side now. So when I saw Jaron go live with this video that he called The Liar, The Lies, The Liars, and The Lie Too, The Flat Earth, and It's All Lies, before the show, you can even see this is 5 minutes before the show's even going on, and who's in the chat? Celebrate Truth, that's Robbie Davidson. You could see, oh, Patricia Steer, good name, good to see you. Hey, great move, Patricia. Patricia Steer's there. Patty, I just chatted with Christopher Crum earlier. He says, I don't know, anyway. Patricia Steer, and then you can even see there's X Flats, and Paul on the Plane is in there too. I'm not sure if there's one person that mentions Paul on the Plane there. Paul on the Plane was there too, and he even told me he was there. He spoke to me privately and said, and I saw that and I said, that doesn't make any sense. There's nothing rational or reasonable. There's no reason that those three people out of the blue just start talking. We haven't heard from Paul on the Plane in years. Paul on the Plane essentially left Flat Earth because, as far as we know, he was busy with his job, busy with his family. Great, good move, right? Stop making content. Go love on your kids more. Absolutely. Not a flat earther I know was like, oh, it's really upsetting that Paul on the Plane took time off for his family. Nobody I knew said that. They were like, fine. So that was fine. Paul on the Plane's gone. Now, next thing you know, Paul on the Plane shows up and he starts being like, globe. What? Well, I gotta watch what I say. Dr. Zach, who I don't even know this guy. I have never watched Dr. Zach. I'm sorry, Dr. Zach or Zach F.E. I don't even know what your name is. I've never seen one of your videos. In fact, when we did the Flat Earth Roundtable, it was the first time I think I'd ever even seen who you were. I don't know. I just don't know these people. That sort of thing. So Zach said, hey, I have a question, Paul on the Plane, Paul Lindbergh. You shared 2 of my videos and you blocked me on YouTube. Have I disrespected you anyway? Paul on the Plane was gone. No one even heard of him. Not making content, not pushing the Flat Earth, gone. You've never shared anything from my channel. So all of a sudden you come out of nowhere and you start sharing flat Earth videos from other people's channels and trashing on them, right? Basically, it's maybe not even trashing on them, sharing them. I'm not going to jump to conclusions, whatever. Okay. But, sharing them and be like, this is Flat Earth's over, And he says, I don't attack people personally. I just go to those on flipped on us and called us stupid and started bashing flat Earth just to boost their views. So it's like, it didn't make any sense to him either. It's like, why would you come out of nowhere, right? And then we have Robbie Davidson. Now, I spoke at the Flat Earth International Conference in 2018. In fact, Dave Weiss was the one. I wasn't even going to go. Dave ended up buying my ticket. He's like, Marty, you got to be there, right? Dave's going to get mad at me. So, anyway, and so Mark Sargent left that conference because of the whole Logan Paul thing. Because as far as we know, that Logan Paul paid Robbie Davidson so that he could go there and have a spot and stuff like that. And so Robbie Davidson is a guy that set up the first few Flat Earth International conferences. He is a hardline Christian. We already know that the Bible is anything about centrism. He's been talking about it for 8, 10, whatever, how many years now, right? And set up the first Flat Earth International Conference. This is where I met some of these people. To my right there is Paul on the Plane. To my left is allegedly Dave, who's fucking crazy. Dave on tap there, Dave Weiss. That's the first time I met him. Don't we look young, Dave? Look at us. Look, I think we've been in the foxhole a little too long. Looking pretty haggard, aren't we? Yeah, carry stress in the jaw, huh, buddy? Huh, bro? So this is where I met these people. And everybody passionate about flat Earth. So then we see, once again, there's, these guys just show up, and next thing you know, it's like, and one of the things that Robbie had said is this. He said, hey, we are growing in numbers. Many more names will be coming out. How do you know that? Do you know something we don't know, Robbie? I don't know. So Robbie, out of nowhere, posts this and says, hey, after much thought, research, and consideration, I've come to a new conclusion about the shape of the Earth. I was wrong. I'm sorry. By the way, this verbiage, and I was gonna actually read the letter, but I'm not going to, is the exact same verbiage that Patricia Steer used to write to Mark Sargent. He sent me the letter. So there's two people, Patricia Steer and Robbie Davidson, who automatically just, and Paul on the Plane, who come out of nowhere, essentially flip, and now they're hating on flat Earth, it's a cult, blah, 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 blah. And then two of them use the exact same verbiage, almost as if it was written for them. Or one wrote it and then said, here, just use this. So they couldn't even be creative about their output in telling everybody that they're no longer flat earthers. So everybody's seeing this and saying, hey, man, this is kind of stinky. This doesn't make any sense. Here's Robbie, and of course, now Robbie's channel is called Flat Earth is a Cult. And I said, okay, well, who's our cult leader? Eric Dubé? Oh, please. Not this guy, that guy needs a steak. So and then there was this. I'm going to Antarctica to do science experiments, right? No, actually, was it an experiment or an observation? Even your memes suck. To do science experiments, right? It looked flat. So from celebrate truth to flat Earth is a cult out of nowhere. Same talking points everybody seems to have. What is it now? It's a cult, guys. I was in the cult, and now it's a cult. Interesting. Well, guess what? This cult member just gave Paul on the Plane a call and said, let's just talk. I'm not hating on you. I'm not accusing you. There will be no accusations. I just want to talk. I want to have a Christian fellowship. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believeth him should not perish but have everlasting life. This was yet another. And what is it? It's a guy with hands and a globe. So he's still saying, hey, I'm a Christian. And guess what? I'm back on the ball. Okay. So, and then Celebrate Truth started promoting Paul on the Plane. Look, Paul on the Plane, a speaker at a couple of my conferences, and the creator of the popular series Space is Fake, had built a significant following on his YouTube channel. Yesterday, he briefly announced that he no longer, just out of nowhere, with Paul, Robbie Davidson, and Pat, Earth's not flat. Keep an eye out for his upcoming official statement, where I hope his upcoming official statement will include what's going on here today, because I'm offering the olive branch. I'm offering to say, hey, man, let's talk about this stuff. So I'm hoping that if he is going to do some sort of announcement, that he'll include what we're talking about here today. Paul on the Plane said, I'm hearing people don't think I exist anymore, let alone now I'm a glober. I want to set the record straight. It can't be flat. It can't be flat. I'll explain further when I get a chance to finalize my statement. Just come out and say, no one had a problem coming out just openly talking about flat Earth and all the problems with it, or all the globe Earth and all the problems with it. So why don't we just do the same about you switching back? That's literally all I want to do. No accusations. Let's just talk about that. Why? What were the things? What were the steps that got you to be like, it's a cult? And if it is a cult, then why did you take a phone call from one of the cult members who's absolutely not attacking you? Once again, if I ever have any more conversation with these guys, I'm back on the ball. I know it'll piss a bunch of you flat earthers off, and I don't give a shit at all. So none of that made any sense. Paul on the Plane, it can't be. You used a CNN. You used Anderson there, the Coop for your meme. It can't be flat. All of us saw that. I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And then this was sent to me before Robbie took it down. His basically his about on his YouTube page, or is essentially his mission statement. This is what Celebrate Truth is all about. This is what we knew Robbie Davidson to be for 5, 8, 10 years, whatever it's been, right? To promote God's truth and expose the world's lies. When we talk about exposing the world's lies, who is the father of lies? Satan. So when we adhere to a lie, what are we adhering to? God? I know, these are tough questions, aren't they? What if everything that NASA and science has taught you about the Earth, sun, moon, and stars in space was a lie? It is. What if Satan wanted to destroy the foundation of God's word with perverting the truth of the enclosed flat earth we live in from the very start? It might sound crazy, but to take the journey and study this topic because it might be the most shocking truth you've ever discovered about the world you live in, open your Bible and read all the verses describing God's creation again. I'm not saying that. Robbie Davidson, as a Christian, is saying that. Do those verses not exist anymore? What happened? That's what we'll talk about if you guys come on. Let's just go over those Bible verses again and explain to me how you guys now all of a sudden, with your heart so full of the Lord, decided it's a ball now. That's what I want to talk about. No accusing, no jumping to conclusions, no attacks, none. That's what you'll get from me. Evolution is a lie and teaching nothing more than you were just an accident and a big bang. Monkey man, science is all part of the deception. Don't believe the lies. So that went from that to next thing you know, you guys are all in a cult. Why? Reasons. For some reason now, Paul on the Plains channel appears in YouTube searches again. He doesn't even have any content on it. I don't know if you guys know anything about algorithms and how that shit works. That don't make any sense. The guy's gone for how long? Takes all of his content on. The only thing that's on there now is a post basically saying, the AE map, it's no longer valid. The experiment or observation or whatever it was, it can't be flat. Huh? Well, after the Flat Earth International Conference, I had a little podcast I was doing, my ministry, and I had Paul on the plane on, and I asked him, I said, hey man, can we talk about, let's talk about flat earth. And so I said, and he asked me some questions and back and forth and that sort of stuff. It was a great conversation. So this was the second to last conversation I had ever had with Paul on the plane. The last conversation I had with Paul on the plane was him calling me up and asking me, as a guy who ran a church, if I wanted to sell a fuel additive in my church. So there was a fuel additive that he was some sort of scheming kind of thing. He was business project or whatever he was working on. And that it was a fuel additive that you could add to your gasoline and you get more miles. And I was like, well, and Paul has always been great to me. Always nice. Always on the up and up. Never, ever even thought 1 second that Paul was some schemer or anything like that. And even when he contacted me, I was nice about it. I was like, hey, thanks for thinking of me, Paul. But in the back of my mind, I was like, what the fuck are you doing? I run a church. That's what I do. We have textbooks. We have, Gnosticism defined, explaining everything that we think. Every video you've ever seen me do, and I've talked about this, is almost entirely and specifically devoted to God. And I even told him this. At what point in my church service am I supposed to stop and be like, hey guys, you should invest in crypto. Hey guys, here, you know what? If you want to support the Academy, buy this fuel additive. No, I'm not here to sell. This is why you don't see commercials on my channel. Because I'm not here to sell you Tide laundry detergent or H&R Block's tax software. I'm here to tell you about God. That's it. It's really simple. I know people want to complicate it and think it's way more than that. It's not. So this was the last conversation I had with Paul on the plane. I gotta pee. So listen.
My channel is absolutely, and everything I talk about has nothing to do with Satanism. I abhor that stuff. I as I just said in the last lecture, I despise all the pomps and works of Lucifer, right? That's not what we're talking about on my channel. You're here to glorify, the Holy Father, God, and try to give people a better understanding of your relationship to Him.
Awesome.
So that's what it's all about.
Simply awesome.
Can I ask you something really quick? I don't know if you've got to go, but can I ask you something really quick?
Fire away. I'm an open book myself.
I don't know if we talked about this when we were at the conference, but I try to ask people, flat earthers, this, who have a family and a wife and all of this. What does your wife think about all this? And how are you going to, and maybe you already have, but how are you going to relay this information to your children?
Well, I'll start with the children one. It's a little bit simpler. As soon as I discovered the reality, the truth about the nature of the world, I went right to them and said, "Hey, look what I found, guys."
Good for you, man.
I didn't hesitate at all. Now my children, I've got 2 teenagers, and then I've got a little girl, which you and I spoke about. My adopted baby girl. But the 2 older ones, I came to them, and they go to a private school. They're from a previous marriage of mine, and they have a religious background. They go to a Christian school, and so I knew that where I needed to go was right into Genesis. So I'll never forget the day. It was my daughter. She's almost 17. I went through day 1, day 2, day 3, just right out of the book. King James Bible, day 1, day 2, day 3, and we got to the part where I said, well, look at this, and the earth was created, and then later it was the sun, moon, and stars, and I said, so what do you think the earth was doing? What was it going around if the sun and the moon were created after? Because she's a very Bible literalist. She believes the Bible, the Word of God. And she looked at me, and I'll never forget this. She went, oh my gosh, Dad, my whole life is a lie.
Wow.
And I said, let's keep going. And so we started talking about it, and my son was right along there with her, but they took it to it like a fish does to water. It makes sense. It was, I didn't go into the science. They have a very strong faith in the Bible and the Word of God, and so that's where it went. Now, since then, we've got into the science, and we've talked about curvature and motion and the sun, moon, and stars, and just how it all relates, and that kind of obviously firmed it up, because if there isn't any science, because that's what they're bombarded with, is that there's science for a globe Earth spinning and that sort of thing. So I had to attack that as well, reinforce their faith in the Bible, which is a beautiful thing. The walk that they have and what's all happened, in the last about 2 years now, about 2 and I guess a little almost 2.5 years now has been great. It's drawn us closer together, and it's been wonderful. So that part is a lot of fun. My 2-year-old, she's going to grow up in a flat Earth household, so it's going to be tough for her to go to the globe. But she's on her own with that. When it comes to my wife, she is very well connected in the mainstream. She follows a lot of that stuff. Been very difficult for her to embrace some of this stuff. At the end of the day, she's 100% supports what I'm trying to do, which is just wake people up, stay in the conversation. I do tests and experiments, and I get involved in things. She's been a big supporter of that. She doesn't want to be in the spotlight. She doesn't want to be part of it. Very, very concerned about the perception in her groups and things like that. She cares about the truth. She is really big, and how this all started was with vaccines for us. As we were investigating in depth vaccines because of our new baby girl and the decisions that were faced there, she's the one that actually saw this mention that the flat Earth was a conversation in one of a Facebook group she was conversing with people about vaccines. She's the one that came home and said, "Hey, did you hear that there's people that think the Earth's flat?" And I went, "Ha, that's crazy. How can anybody think that? Pictures from space, all that stuff."
4 days later.
Yeah, 3 or 4 days later, I was like, "Holy S, baby! There's some truth to that." But that's the nutshell version of how I even came to understand that flat Earth was even a thing.
So that's a conversation. That was literally the second to last conversation I ever had with Paul. Never once would I ever think Paul would, there's never been a jerk. He's always been straight. He even said to me, he's like, I'm an open book. I'm an open book too, man. Why are we closed now? What happened? Why, if we're an open book, go ahead, ask away, Marty. Why do you now need to get time together to prepare a statement? Is something keeping you from being an open book? So what happened this week is this happened. All of us flat earthers were looking at Paul on the Plane, Robbie Davidson, and Patricia Steer all coming out together at once, saying the same talking points. Flat Earth is a cult. AEMAP is no longer valid. And we're like, what is this? Nobody I know was like, this is totally rational and reasonable and just totally makes sense. And then this got shared around. Dated July 28th, 2021. When we decided to promote Axion with a weekly show, podcast, and social media accounts, we were unaware of the potential liability that comes with promoting a security and investment contract in our respective jurisdictions. Now, by the way, it doesn't even matter if it's a security or not a security, as far as I understand. If you get somebody involved in an investment contract, this ends up being an SEC violation, as far as I understand. During the past month, we've been informed of the legal ramification. Were you informed, or did you? Because Paul on the plane said I believe he said that he found it himself, or that they figured it out. Or were you informed? Because it says you're informed here. During the past month, we've been informed of the legal ramifications we could individually face if we were to be targeted by governing bodies that regulate securities. Under Section 2A1 of the Securities Act and Section 3A10 of the Exchange Act, a security includes an investment contract. An investment contract is investment of money in a common enterprise with a reasonable expectation of profits to be derived from the entrepreneurial managerial efforts of others. See 15 U.S.C. 77B through 77C. All the best. Patricia Steer, Paul on the Plane, and Robbie Davidson. Now, they all had a podcast together promoting Axion. And we'll get what Axion is and all this other stuff. It's a bunch of, boring shit, basically. But, so basically what they were doing is they all got together and they started promoting this Axion. It was a full-time podcast. They even said they started promoting it, and they have all of the receipts. They started promoting this on a podcast. They started promoting it in their social media. Why would they all get together, decide to conspire and do this if they didn't have some incentive to do it? In other words, if they weren't paid to do it, if they weren't given crypto to do it, if they themselves weren't promised some sort of, gain from this. Do you guys just go out and with all your passion and all your time start doing a podcast and promoting something when you get nothing in return? Name one person that does that. So that doesn't make any sense. Now, we have lots of this. It went around real quick, and just so you guys know, it would not matter whatsoever, and I told Paul on the plane this specifically when I spoke to him. I said it wouldn't matter if I say shit about this, Paul. Everybody's got it. And everybody I'm talking to right now is saying the exact same thing. They're saying, wow, that's a lot of guilt. That doesn't look good for these guys. And we'll go over some more of it. But I'm not saying that today. Not me. Paul on the Plane, Robbie Davidson, Patricia Steer, Jaron Campanella. Not me. You won't get that from me. I'll extend the handout. I will believe you. I will be the open book that you said you were to me, Paul. And I just want to make sense of this. I just want to walk through it. No accusations, no name calling. I don't even give a fuck about the shape of the earth. At all. As far as I'm concerned, if I speak to any of these people ever in my life again, I'm on the ball. I know it's going to piss some of you guys off, and I don't care. Because I want to be the most charitable. I want to grant them as much as humanly possible to make sense of all of that. And that's the position I'll be taking. Really an exciting ecosystem developing, revolutionary ideas, great price entry point right now for new investors since still a month from launching and being able to take, Axion brings a tried and true investment strategy to cryptocurrency. Tried and true, this is going to work. And then when I talked to Paul, I had a conversation with him, and, you don't have to believe me. You can, God knows what's true. I know what's true. And the rest is fucking details. But this is the conversation that I had with Paul. He said this. I called him up and I said, hey, Paul, it's Marty Leeds. Haven't spoken to you in a while. Just wanted to know, hey, I heard that you're off the ball, or off the flat earth now, and you're still in the flat earth, but you say you are off it. Anyway, what's going on? I was very open-hearted, no accusations. And he said within a minute of the conversation, it's I just lost all faith in the AE map. Now, I just want to let everybody know, moving forward, I think you could probably, if you got a keen eye, keen ear, I know Mark's on it, you're going to start hearing talking points from these people. And we can pick them right out exactly what they are. Guess what? No faith in the AE map. The AE map is dead, guys. Just so you guys know. That shit's dead. The new observations or experiment or evidence got me off the ball. It got me off the flat earth, whatever, right? So Paul on the plane says to me, I just lost all faith in the AE map with these observations. By the way, I just called him and I hadn't even asked him about the TFE yet. I didn't even bring it up. And he immediately starts, I'm assuming that he knew that that's what part of the call was about, so that's not wild or anything like that. But I was like, wow, that was strange. I wasn't going to ask you about that. Right? And he immediately was like, hey, I was like, hey, how are you doing? Those are things like, oh, family and kids and stuff. Great. I'm glad you're spending your time with them. People should spend more time with their families. Less time on this shit, that's for sure. Not this channel, but I talked to Robbie. He said that this is Paul on the plane in 1:32, just telling me. I talked to Robbie and Patricia and Jaron. Why? Out of nowhere, why are all of a sudden you in communication with one of these guys can't stand your Savior? Once again, this is why I said this doesn't make any sense. I don't give a shit about the shape of the earth. I'm on the ball for the rest of this live stream. Who cares? That doesn't make any sense. I'm not stupid. And nobody else is stupid either. Well, anyway. I'll say this. For what we're about to show you guys, and this is going to come out, I wouldn't even have to make a video on this. I'm just the guy that really should, because I'm going to be the most kind, the most charitable, the most loving, the most Christly. I'll believe you guys. Robbie, Paul, Patricia, Jaron, I will believe you. But you know what else? None of these other people are gonna. Not a fucking one of them. Anybody that's looked at this thus far who I've been speaking to, they're like, whoa. There's motive, there's a timeline, there's who would have got him, and we'll get all into it. So the TFE, basically, that was the big thing. Yeah, right. Based on those observations, is it an experiment or an observation? It doesn't match the AE map at all. I'm not even 2 minutes into a conversation with the guy, and he's mentioned twice specifically the AE map and how it's bullshit. So there isn't a map as far as I'm concerned that would be able to explain anything other than the globe model. Talking points? Talking points, anybody? So I started with, hey, I'm shapeless. But the more I studied the observations, there isn't an experiment. I believe they went. I believe they went too. In fact, just so you guys know, once again, to be as charitable as I possibly can, who was the asshole that came out and said, hey, everybody's being immoral right now? That was Brother Marty. It's so funny. One of the most trustworthy people in Flat Earth is the guy that's pro-Freemasonry. Could you even make this shit up? It's like the story. It's just insane. So, and then he ends with this. He said, it was a long conversation, and there's, it's fine. It's between Paul and I. That's it. And God. He said this, I don't believe Satan turned the sun into a plasma ball to fool anybody. I don't think Satan turned the sun into a plasma ball either. Dave and I said a bunch of Satanists faked the sun down there with some fucking high tech. And now I'm more convinced of it than ever. Why would Paul out of nowhere? And how did he know about the plasma ball? Dave and I were the only ones that even talked about it. You're talking to the guy that fucking made that video. How do you know about it and don't know that I know about it? That doesn't make any sense, Paul. None of this made any sense to everybody because everybody knows once you go flat, you actually never go back. You don't. You know why? Because once it's just as Paul was saying to his daughter got it and she's like, oh yeah, maybe I'm being lied to about everything. The mountains of evidence tells us there's, so then if we have one anomaly that we don't understand, that does not make anybody with a reasonable heart and a reasonable mind just be like, well, I guess all of that shit doesn't make sense. There's nobody that's still on flat earth that essentially was fazed by that at all because I'm like, well, okay, even if there is a 24-hour sun there, which at this point, I don't believe a fucking word that comes from any of those people and anything that came out of that. And neither should you. I'm not telling you what to do. But, one little anomaly doesn't make you forget about the 10,000 things that got us here in the first place. That was so overwhelming that made us come out in total social ostracization, as I say that correctly. All of that forced us to do it. You don't look down in frickin' South and wherever and does this. The next thing you know, I guess all of that other stuff. None of us did that. These guys did, though. And then they're not explaining themselves at all. And then they all work together. Once again, I'll believe you guys. I will believe you. Whatever you tell me. But you know who's not going to believe you? Literally anybody else. And this is why I had to do this video today. Because nobody else would have done this. All of those other flat earthers would have made this video with vitriol and fucking, blood from their teeth and so angry. That's not what we're doing. No. Ain't happening. So they promoted the shit out of Axion. They had a podcast. They had a YouTube channel. They were told, guess what? You guys were violating SEC violations. And we'll get into that, okay? And this is so... all you have to do here, ladies and gentlemen, is follow the money. This is an age-old tactic, right? It's like, how do you get to the bottom of this stuff? Well, just follow where the money goes. Money goes to one specific place, and that's the promotion of a Bitcoin, which would have been, as we'll see, as far as we understand, some severe SEC violations. Next thing to know, all of them come out. Flat Earth is a cult. And this is what happens when you actually don't give your heart to Christ. Right? This is actually what happens. And this is what us Gnostics talk about all the time, that we don't follow men. We follow God. We don't idol worship. We don't like, oh, this guy looks like he's got his shit together. Let's just go give all of our attention to him. Well, that's what these guys did. And this is what I mean, we have the proof that this is what they did. They saw this Richard Hart Schuler guy who's formed X. Hex is the name. Which, by the way, hex, isn't that interesting? I mean, it's just a hexagon, I get that, but isn't that like a magical term? Like they're casting a spell on you? I'm just, whatever. I'm a geometric guy, so it doesn't bother me. But anyway, so this is Paul, and he's like, hey, I'm in the new vid. I'm just watching now. I don't see Richard's picture here with the slide. The modern day genius Richard Hart at the helm. Richard Hart. We'll look at who Richard Hart is in just a second here. But so here's the channel, and this channel, I downloaded. I was on the middle of downloading the last 3 podcasts. And this is a channel that was Paul on the Plane, Patricia Steer, Robbie Davidson. Paul on the Plane, Patricia Steer, Robbie Davidson. Paul on the Plane, Patricia Steer, and Robbie Davidson. They're promoting the fuck out of Axion. Well, and there it is, and there's a whole bunch of this stuff. Now, what's interesting is why all this was going on, in the middle, literally, of me downloading the last few podcasts, the channel was taken down. What's to hide? If it's all on the up and up, and there's no issue here, what's to hide? If it was just a crypto scam and then you figured, or crypto, you had some issue or whatever, and then you guys legitimately found out, oh, we shouldn't be doing this, we're going to shut it down, we're going to let everybody know and just walk away. And that's exactly what it was. And you left the channel up all these years, and then all of a sudden, a few of us dummy flat earthers got a hold of this, and then we just share it between a few people, and while I'm downloading the podcasts, their channel's taken down. Once again, I'll believe you guys. I believe you. You know who's not going to believe you? Everybody else. An SEC violation, Security and Exchange Committee, something like that, right? Has the threat of one violation up to 25 years in prison or jail or whatever. Doesn't even matter. And so then I guess the question is, if they're fully admitting that they were engaged in SEC violations and that somebody got to them, why weren't they charged? Because Richard Hart, I don't know why he named himself Hart, as you'll see, he was brought into court about it. The guy that started Hex and the Axion coin, the SEC charged him. But you guys were in violation and supporting this stuff, and basically we'll get to that. And they didn't get charged, according to them. Or maybe I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. I'm not jumping to conclusions, but I'm just asking why. Why not? Well, Axion was a rug pull. And at the time in 2000, 2021, I don't think people even understood what the, rug pull was. I just got hip to it basically the last, whatever. So, basically what it was is that this scammer, this total pile of shit, got basically a bunch of people to invest real money into a coin. It was a long-term thing. It was all based on the fact that this hex coin did really, really well, and everybody made a bunch of money, and he's a billionaire and shit like that. Here's a little lesson, people. You never want to get rich quick. This is the worst thing. When people win the lottery and the next thing you know, they got millions of dollars and then their life just goes to shit and they lose all their friends? That's exactly what should happen. Okay. So this is Axion. This is 4 years ago. Just a big snowball going downhill. And a lot of people that invested in Hex made a bunch of money. And so they're like, this is the next new thing. We'll take all this and we'll dump it into this. And this guy, I could guarantee he knew what he was doing the entire time. He's like, I'm going to take all their real money. You're going to invest in a bunch of zeros. And next thing you know, you'll be out your savings. And everyone we know that invested into Axion, I've spoken to several people. Paul on the plane told me this himself from his own mouth. They lost, paraphrasing, because Paul on the plane wouldn't use the potty mouth like an Irishman. They lost their asshole. That's what happened. Join me, Patricia and Paul, today. Don't miss Axion's next live broadcast. Guess what I'm doing for the next 24 hours? A Bitcoin venture capital action launch party. Why would you stream for 24 hours if there was not some incentive on the back end or something for you to do any of this? This is from the Axion podcast. This is episode, there was 27 episodes. This is episode 26. Episode 27 happens. Their podcast stops. They don't do it anymore. They're not promoting this. They post the thing essentially on their website saying, hey, it was told to us that we've had some SEC violations. And this is a clip. And Patricia Steer specifically said that somebody should cut this out and post it. So this is why I'm doing this, Pat, if you're listening. It's him, it's Robbie, Patricia, and Paul. And they're all talking about, well, you'll hear it. It sounds like Robbie Davidson is about to lose a bunch of money and he's shitting his pants. You tell me what this sounds like. I'm not going to jump to that conclusion.
I think great idea, all these sort of things, having all these incentives, but we need to slow down on changing stuff and adding stuff, and we need to be constant to a certain degree. No one is going to have any type of confidence in a project that are like, okay, that's what it is now. Okay, I'm going to come back in a month and I'll bet you it's changed. There's a lot of people talking like that. They don't know, and they have no foundation or footing when everything is changing too much. So I'm going to say at this point, I think we're changing way too much.
We have to have standards.
We stop changing things so much, especially core essential things like getting rid of a referral program with little to notice, with nothing to replace it. To me, is not wise decision making because these things are in place for a long time. A lot of people are relying on them. They're using them to onboard their friends and family, regardless if people don't like it. You give people a heads up. We did that for the Hexicans. We gave them 30 days. But for all the people that are using ref codes, we gave them 2 days. Stuff like this, it's essential. We have to be very careful when we're making decisions because people are watching, and overall the confidence level will drop, not because of the token or the fundamentals. It's because how am I going to be in something when all of a sudden I'm going to be voted out and something's going to change? So the votes have to be very carefully put together, in my opinion. We're changing and we're adapting. We're adding lotteries and we're adding all this kind of stuff. It's becoming gimmicky, to be quite honest. So I would like more of a confidence.
So let me ask you guys, does it sound like Robbie Davidson has a bunch of money invested into this Axion thing? This is the second last podcast before it falls. Does he sound like he's sweating? I'm just asking. I'm not going to jump to any conclusions. Read body language. Listen to the anxiety in his voice. Paul and Patricia are just sitting there. I think they probably see what's happening, and they're just trying to play it cool because they're in promotion mode. Is this what you see? I'm asking.
When it comes to, look, man, we're getting Bitcoin 4 times a week. We've got solid fundamentals. We've got Axion launch. What else do we need? The desperation is there because guess what, guys? There hasn't been a lot of true advertising dollars being spent. Guys, maybe they're all waiting for V3, whatever. Once V3, in my opinion, this is going to unleash everything is kind of in place. It was like the final piece, you know, and I've heard it from good authority that was like, look, once this was in place, we can really unload because these are problematic. So once we get to that point, I think, honestly, we are really going to go to the whole next level because everything is in place for us to go to that next level. But this idea of like, we got to do everything. We got to do everything. We got to add more bonuses. We got to give cars away. We got to do all this. No, we don't. All we have to do truly is increase wallets, get more attention to Axion. We've got to be sponsoring conferences. We've got to have our logo in places. We've got to be in front of a lot of cryptocurrency people, period. Forget soccer moms, forget onboarding no coiners, because cryptocurrency crowd are going to talk to their own friends and family and say, guys, you got to check out Axion. It is a steal of a deal. Remember Hex? Yeah. They're there, right now. We can jump on right now. We've got a huge marketing opportunity come up. And again,
you hear what he said? You remember Hex? Go talk to the crypto people. This thing, it's starting to slip. I got $150,000. I don't know how much money I got invested in this. I got a whole fucking load of money invested in this. And, you know, the people that are running it, they just don't really seem like they care. And they're moving in this and this. And then you can just say, you can smell the fear in his voice.
The rest will take care of it, in my opinion. So anyways, I just had to vent because I see a lot of stuff happening. And I'm like, come on, like this is Axion. It's a sleeping damn giant. It really is. And we're sitting there like making it all gimmicky. Serious investors are watching that and they're like, these guys honestly change things from like on a whim, month to month. They could rip things out. If all of a sudden I'm looking at my Bitcoin calculator, I'm like, okay, I'm doing my budget. Oh, what? You changed it? It's gone now? Well, what is it now? Well, it's 2 times a week. Oh, it's 3 times a week. Oh, no, we changed it. We got to stop changing stuff so frequently, period. So
Somebody needs to slice that out of this conversation.
I'm just saying it. Robbie's I love the fact that the DAO is beautiful. Don't get me.
Somebody needs to slice this out, Robbie's rant, and say, okay, I'll be that guy. I'll do that. So you tell me. Now, Patricia Steer, let's talk about this a second. So, with a podcast in which they're overtly a 24-hour stream promoting Axion, which took a tank, we know that according to them, not conspiracy theory, that they were engaged in illegal activity. They're telling us that these are major SEC violations. Then, after all of this, they don't get charged and anything like that. And then, where is it? Oh my God, I cannot find it now. That's okay. Shoot, I'm sorry. That would have been good. Where is it? It doesn't matter. Then Patricia Steer basically gets, this was, I think in January, posts on her Instagram account that she buys, there's a new BMW, I think it's BMW is what it is, right? Or Mercedes-Benz, I think is what it is. I don't know. I'm not a car guy, right? And I don't know how much this car is, but, you know, people were telling me like the base model is like 100,000, 150,000. I don't even know, okay? But why is it that all of a sudden, you know, involved in this crypto thing, you lost your ass, you had an SEC violation, and nothing happened, and then you have money to buy a brand new Mercedes-Benz? I don't even know. Right now, I'm like, I think we need to buy more buckets for my shitter. Anyway, so none of that makes any sense at all. Oh, there it is. There it is. So I don't know how much that is or whatever, but if you lost your ass in crypto, which we know you did, everybody did, then you must have had a bunch of money just hanging out for that. I don't know. Patricia Steer left Flat Earth, and as far as we understand, for pretty good reason, because she was like hated and stuff. Like, once again, when I heard Paul wanted to leave and like basically focus on his family, I was like, that's a great idea. You should totally do that. I'm totally in support of that. Go, Paul. You know, Patricia Steer was gone from Flat Earth, and, you know, one of the reasons is I think she can speak for herself, but people were shitting on her and, you know, gave her a lot of crap and stuff like that. And so from 2021, you know, like right when they were running that podcast and they got busted for the SEC violations, she was gone from Flat Earth, just up and gone. Then, all of a sudden, in 2024, Patricia Steer calls up, or I don't know how it happened, but gets a hold of Mark Sargent and is like, hey, I want to get back in the game. And Patricia comes and I talk to Mark. And he's like, yeah, there wasn't, there's a few things here and there. It was kind of weird or whatever, but all in all, it was on the up and up. It seemed like it was pretty organic. Seemed like there was no issue there or anything like that. Huh, interesting. Why all of a sudden did you get back in the game, Patricia? I don't know. Then I found out from Dave that Dave was in a group of some people, and he was working on some things with Matt Long with like a little coin for their app and things like that, which was, Dave explained the whole thing to me. It was literally a free coin. It was literally just to trade in the app and stuff like that. And so he was talking in this group, if I'm getting some details wrong, excuse me, just correct them. I don't give a shit. So he was talking in the group, and then basically Dave was like, hey man, I'm working all the time. I'm constantly doing social media, all this other stuff, blah, 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 blah. All the people that are here just for this, you should show up regularly on Sunday, for Christ's sake. So, all right. So, hey, man, I needed help with my social media. I'm like, he's on TikTok and Instagram and all that sort of stuff, and he's getting banned and blah, 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 blah. And he's like inundated, right? He's a workhorse. So he needed help. So Robbie was like, I'll help you. And so Dave started paying Robbie monthly for to do social media in the background. And Robbie said that he didn't want anybody knowing this. And I talked to Dave about this, and I talked to Mark about this, and, that sort of stuff. I was like, well, it doesn't, it's not really that, no red flags right away. But then I got to thinking, I was like, Robbie, you've been celebrating truth. You have over 100,000 people on your YouTube channel. You set up the Flat International Conference, for Christ's sake. You're networking with flat earthers. Why would you not want to be known that you're doing social media for Dave? And Dave didn't care. He was like, fine, whatever you want, it's fine. I need help. And he knew Robbie for years, seemed like a really solid dude. Didn't think he was ever going to waver from Flat Earth, doing conferences and things like that. And of course, there's always this big and when you're talking about Christians. And this thing too. So, I saw that and I was like, so when did Robbie get back in cahoots with, and trying to sort of weasel his way, if you will, back into Flat Earth, start doing your social media? And he said, I forget how many months ago it was. And I was like, interesting. And then when did Patricia Steer come back and start working on Mark Sargent's show? I don't know. Give or take a few months here or there. Not really sure, but, that's a timeline. So I saw for a second, I was like, wait a second, an SEC violation. Now, first and foremost, we all know that Jaron, in fact, I don't know how many people just openly told me this, right? They were just like, Jaron's always been in it for the money. He's never been legit. He's never done this because he actually really cares and stuff like that. He was like, I don't know. I don't know what's in his heart. God knows and he knows. God knows and he knows. And that's it. And so I'm not going to, but, I was going to say, hey, if somebody was going to sell out, will it be Jaron? I was like, well, okay, at least I can understand that. That's for sure. So when we talk about Axion being a rug pull, and I'm not even saying, in fact, Paul told me that they were just investors. They didn't have any of the keys. They didn't make the coin or anything like that. And I believe them. I don't believe, but as my friend was saying that deals in crypto, he said, well, it could very, very, very well be, let's just call it a conflict of interest, a legal conflict of interest, if you were paid to promote something that was like a contract that was specifically expected to get gains, that could be that would be a violation. If you were paid behind the scenes, even crypto, money, whatever it was, to promote it, and then I asked, well, why would they promote it? Why would those three get together and do a podcast and promote it all the time if they had some incentive to do so? Well, accordingly, if they did get an incentive to do so, that very, very, very well could have been illegal. And one of those violations would be up to 25 years in prison. So I'm going to play a little, just hypothetical. I'm just going to go over this stuff. I've seen enough Law and Order. I've seen enough of that shit. And I'm just going to imagine a scenario. Little lady named Patricia Steer finds out the earth is flat. Is excited about it. Oh my God, this is a conspiracy. Oh, amazing. And she gets involved in the flat earth community and has a lot of highs and a lot of lows and all that other stuff. And then she gets involved in this crypto thing and she's like, oh, this is a good opportunity. Maybe I'll take that $150,000 I have and I'll turn it into $1.5 million or something. And then she gets involved with some of these guys that she trusts and knows. Paul in the plane, what a great guy. Hey, he even contacted me to say, hey, you want to get involved in some? I'm like, no, thanks though, Paul. And then they start doing their podcast, and they're gunning, and they made money in Hex. So it's like, well, why wouldn't we make money in Axion? And then things start going and going and going. And next thing you know, hey guys, guess what? The thing that you were doing is actually illegal. And one violation would be 25 years in prison. I don't know if this is what happened. But I could imagine a scenario in which somebody from the SEC or the government calls up Patricia Steer and says, hey, honey, you know that crypto thing you were involved in? One violation from the feds, let alone anybody that you got to sign that contract that could sue you now. One violation is 25 years in prison. Fuck, you know those vegan cats you have? We'll throw the book at you. By the time you get out of prison, they'll be dead. You'll be broke. You won't have any money. You know those nice little, those vinyl LPs you got on the back wall and shit like that? Nah, those will all be sold in auction. The nice car that you just bought? No, you're going to wear an orange jumpsuit. You won't be able to have your vegan whatever. You'll be eating shit in prison. You'll be wearing an orange jumpsuit. No more makeup for you. You'll be a wrinkly old bitch by the time you get out, and no one will give a fuck about you, and you'll have nothing. You sure you still believe in the flat earth? Patricia, is that what happened? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I do know this thing. I do know this. Axion was definitely a rug pull. And the rug pull is basically like, get a bunch of people to invest into nothing, you take all their money, and next thing you know, oh, it was all bullshit. Okay. And the guy that runs it, the guy that was the heart of it, right? The heart of it, isn't that funny? Huh? Is named Richard Schuler. And of course, as far as I was told, I didn't look this up because I didn't have time because I was completely inundated by information. Apparently, he's got some of the same lawyers as Donald Trump and Elon Musk or something. So it's amazing that this multi-billionaire guy got his SEC thing thrown out, right? It was fraud. Now, I guess Interpol is after him, and I guess the Finnish authorities are after him. But let's just say this. Richard Schuler Hart, the guy from behind Axion and whatever, what the other ones, Hex, free and clear as far as we understand. And this just happened. Oh, look, the SEC had accused Richard Hart. This was a couple days ago. That's really convenient. That seems very convenient. And so this is this Richard Hart guy, and I don't know why anybody, especially as a Christian, what are you doing this for? Is it to make money? Jesus. Why you would follow this guy and be like, yeah, so I'm going to put my trust in this frickin' douche. Let's watch a little Richard Hart here.
How many banks use XRP? None. How many banks use XRP? None. How many years has it been around?
Dude, anybody that wears rings like that, just...
They integrated with MoneyGram one time. XRP.
Okay. This is your hero. This is the guy that's going to secure your future. I see this guy, and do you know what I think of? I think of that movie Hostel, written and directed by Eli Roth. This is like the guys the billionaires that go and like pay to torture people. That movie, you remember that movie? That I almost puked when I saw it. I was like, that's who that Richard Schuler Hart guy reminds me of. Somebody that would pay for that shit. This is your big crypto hero.
Hey y'all, Richard Hart here, enjoying driving in America. I just gotta say, there's a lot of help wanted signs here, boy. Whole lot of help wanted signs. Look at how sparkly my shoes are. Look at that. Ooh-wee. Anyway, how are you guys doing today?
Sorry. So never, like Will said, never trust a guy that's showing off his sparkling shoes. So you want to see my shoes? This is a 3-year-old Crocs that I got from Walmart. This thing is falling out. I use these. I put these on to go shit in my bucket. Hey guys, moving forward, I would say if you see somebody like that, I don't know. Maybe I would say I don't really think I should do anything with him. SEC charges Hex founder. They charged the founder of the coin, but they didn't charge Patricia, Paul on the plane, or Robbie? Huh. Once again, I'll believe you guys. I would just like some explanations for this. That's all I want. Remember, I'm on the ball. Gravity. Upside down people. So this is all of this. He's like, And so then we say, well, what does Jaron have to do with this? Well, Jaron was very much involved in crypto consulting. Did he push this? I don't know. Maybe if I'm just by asking some questions, I'll be Jaron's dirtball of the week. Like I give a fuck what a dirtball and degenerate, depraved piece of shit thinks about me. Speaking of depraved, degenerate pieces of shit, during this whole thing, a video was passed to me, and I don't even know if I should talk about this. Believe me or not, I don't care. I know I know what's true. A video was passed to me of Jaron doing some, and it was definitely Jaron. And Jaron's got a big dick. Jaron, but I'll say this. I saw the video. Jaron has a big dick. He doesn't have one of those wildly mediocre, it's a grower, not a shower Irish dicks like I got. No. Not Jaron. A video was passed around of Jaron, let's just say, doing some, believe me or not, I don't care, of doing some pretty depraved shit to a sex toy. Now, I don't care. I don't care what you do in public. I don't care what you do in private. I don't care at all. But this video was sent out to people besides his wife and children, obviously. But and that's I'll just say that you believe me or not, I don't care. And by the way, that wasn't very shocking to me because it was like that little Bill Cosby rumor for years. I had heard for years that was Jaron may have sent some dick pics out to some people, and so I don't know if that's true. I heard it. It was a little thing, a bird every once in a while I would hear that. And honestly, I didn't care because I don't really give a shit about Jaron. I don't go to his, that sort of stuff. So I was like, whatever. But then this video showed up and then I immediately deleted it. So now I have that image in my head for the rest of my life. Thanks. So, but I will say this, whatever he was doing, he sent it to not his wife. Now, between the crypto consulting and the absolute depraved degeneracy that I know he is involved in, I'm assuming that maybe some authorities found a little way in to hold the carrot over his head or whatever. I don't know. Was he involved in the crypto consulting and stuff like that? Yes. Maybe he just genuinely went down to Antarctica, south, whatever, saw the 24-hour sun, and he just decided that we're all in a cult and we're all a bunch of liars. Maybe that's actually what happened. Well, guess what? For this live stream, I'm going to believe you, Jaron. No one else is going to. And I wouldn't even have to do this live stream today, and all of this shit would have come out. So you want to attack me? Fucking go nuts. I'm going to be the most charitable. I'm going to be the one with the most amount of heart and the most amount of love. While I was watching, and this is a warning to you guys, and by the way, I talked to Taboo Conspiracy. I hope he doesn't mind I'm saying it. But I just get, quick messages back and forth in Skype and things like that. Nothing crazy. And, there was a few people that were going to release this. And I basically said, don't stop. Don't do anything. Let me do my sermon on Sunday. And then whatever you want to do is fine. Okay? Because this needs to be handled so gently and so carefully. And that's the nigga for that job. Okay. So as I was watching these podcast, I saw Kingdom in Context text in to their little podcast. And he said this: Easy Marking Tools is interviewing on other YouTube channels that deal in crypto or financial investments. their audiences will be savvy to the conversation. Now, there was nothing really wrong with this. I mean, I have zero issue at all with people investing, working together, working with one another, helping each other out financially. Hey, this might be a good investment here. Okay, cool. No problem with that. I do have a problem, though, especially if you're a Christian channel and you're spending any time hawking any of this shit. That's not okay with me. Okay? You're supposed to do what you're supposed to do, which is spread truth. Anything else is okay, cool. Maybe hey, somebody threw me $100 today. Awesome, great. Well, I gotta do that whether you throw me $100 or not, don't I? Yes, I do. Why? Because I have a responsibility. I have a spiritual responsibility. I don't think this is okay, Kingdom in Context. I don't know what you're doing here. I'm not saying you're involved. I will say this, though. If you knew that these three were working together, participated in their live stream, then when they started coming out against Flat Earth, where were you? I'm just asking. I'm not accusing at all. There's probably actually a really good, reasonable explanation, and I hope he actually emails me and explains it. And in fact, moving forward, I think we're going to need a lot more people starting to fucking talk. Hey, Eric Dubé, come out from your little safe space and let's just have some open conversations. What's the problem? Like Paul in the Plane said, I'm an open book. So all of this is why we always talk about this. And, then the people come to my channel and say, Marty, you just repeat yourself. And this is why I have to. Because we don't put our trust in men. Gnostics, us stupid Gnostics, we don't put our trust in men. We put our trust in God. Because you know what? Men lie. They're schemers. In fact, we understand that this is where evil actually comes from. Here, in the mind of man. So there's just a little caveat for us, and this is smack dab in the middle of this old good book, which I'm sure Robbie and Paul both know. Smack dab in the middle of this thing is this verse, and it said, "It is better to trust in the Lord than put confidence in man." You're not going to see me ever put confidence in Paul in the Plane, or Robbie Davidson, or Jaron Campanella, or Richard fucking Schuler. I'm not confident that any of those people are going to bring me some retirement. No, my retirement will be with God. Now, I'm going to talk about this a second. I've never made any money on Flat Earth. That's actually not true. Well, let me explain myself. Have you ever seen this channel? Do I have a Flat Earth book? No, in one chapter in one book, we talk about it because it's our tenets of the order. It's literally a book about what we believe. It's not Flat Earth at all. Have you ever seen me sell a Flat Earth t-shirt? Have you ever seen a commercial on my channel? And if there is any commercial, it's because I used some music and then they forced a commercial on my channel or something like that. There's no commercials on my channel. I don't do any of this stuff and have never done any of this stuff for money. In fact, the only time that I specifically ended up taking money for a Flat Earth specific thing, I did all of these conferences. They cost me money. When I did the Flat Earth International Conference, I flew out myself. I put myself up in the hotel. I stayed with friends. It cost me money. When I did Flattoberfest, Karen B never paid me anything. She paid for the hotel. I had to fly out there, or we had to drive out there, whatever it was, right? It cost me money. I had to take time off work, whatever it was, right? So the only time, it's so hilarious, the only time I directly made money, and the only reason I did it is because I wanted to support the community, was Jaron Campanella and Austin Witzett's True Earth Equinox Summit, in which I made, I don't know how much, maybe $400, $500, I don't remember what it was. A couple $100, whatever it was. Nominal, really, right? It was like, in a regular job, it's like a couple days of work, right? So anyway, so I participated in this, and you could sell tickets or whatever, and it's like, hey, well, literally the only reason I did it is like, I could give this presentation anytime, I just have to turn this on, I can give any presentation I want. And I'll have people listen. Maybe it's only like 16 of you or something, but I will get people to listen. I don't need to do this. The only reason I did it is like, hey man, I want to support this community. Okay? So then you could sell tickets, and then honestly, basically it was all just people in the church that just wanted to support me, paid for the tickets. And that's the only time I've ever even made money. Otherwise, you know what Flat Earth has been... Taboo Conspiracy made a video about it. He's like, I made zero money. No, that's gross, not net. I made zero money on Flat Earth. I'll say this. I've lost money on Flat Earth over the years. This has not been a moneymaker at all. But as far as we can tell, for some people, that's, I'm not sure what they're in it for. I'm just asking. What do these people have in common with the organizer of the final experiment. Oh, Dave and I already covered that. Financial issues?
The thing that I find amazing is, Will Duffy is a self-proclaimed a multimillionaire, and that's why he just cares about the flat earth thing, right? But if you check his FINRA, he was in the financial business. On 11/9/2021, he was sued for $218,000. He got off for $10,000, not bad, okay? And then so that's one. 9/16/2022, getting a little closer, he had to settle for $225,000, right? And then 4/19/2024, that's April 19th, right? This was when this is coming out. He got sued again, and then on June 6th, $135,000, violations of federal securities laws, violations of Colorado Securities Act, breach of contract, common law fraud, negligence, and gross negligence. $135,000, and then on 6/11, another one for $360,000, a whole bunch of stuff. And all this guy cares, he's got another $500,000 in fines, and all this guy cares about is settling the flat Earth debate. Does that make any sense to you?
Will Duffy launched his career as a broker when he joined Emerson Equity in 2016. When he initially registered in the firm of O's to Denver, Colorado, he registered in Lone Tree, Colorado in 2019. He remained there in 2022 and then to one of the securities office and then later. And so basically what Will Duffy has a history of just going around ripping people off. The feds were on him. People were suing him. A whole bunch of people suing him. And he doesn't care about any of this. He's free and clear. And my real concern, the only concern I have, and I got to go on modern day debate, and I got to go across we really have to end the flat Earth. Fuck it. I believe you will. Duffy, listen. Jaron, Paul on the plane, Patricia, Robbie, I believe you. But nobody fucking else is gonna. Will Duffy was on Modern Day Debate against Nathan Thompson. Now, Nathan Thompson, I'm going to make some people mad here, but Nathan Thompson is a fucking walking embarrassment, okay? Just because we're on the flat Earth doesn't mean I like all of it. I think the guy's annoying as shit, okay? I called him and bitched him out one time when we were in Hawaii, because sometimes Marty Lee's got to do that. I called him and bitched him out for being a total retard about Freemasonry, which he still is. But Will Duffy was on what's considered, I think it was called probably the last flat Earth debate on Modern Day Debate. And it was Will Duffy and Nathan Thompson. And just listen to what Will Duffy has to say. Will Duffy's going to tell you, as if like these are catches or something like that, about all these people that have now switched from the flat Earth to the globe Earth. One of the people that's mentioned is Rose 777, and so, let's just, hey, start talking.
When I created the final experiment, I set out to end the debate over the shape of the Earth. And I believe TFE has been incredibly successful in this regard. As evidence of this, there is currently a major exodus out of flat Earth, starting with Amarel from Canada, who was one of the first Patreon supporters of Eric Dubé. He saw the writing on the wall when Eric Dubé did not share his excitement about TFE going to Antarctica. Eric Dubé said for years that there is never a 24-hour sun at any time in Antarctica. Dubé also correctly asserted that the heliocentric globe model must have a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Yet Eric Dubé did not think it was a good idea to travel to Antarctica to see which side was correct. And he even turned down an offer to have his trip to Antarctica paid for by a glober named Mark Harmon. Next is Jaron Campanella from the YouTube channel Jaronism. Jaron was one of the fortunate flat earthers who received a trip to Antarctica on my dime. And Jaron not only saw the 24-hour sun with his own eyes, but was also honest enough to admit that he had been wrong about the 24-hour sun and therefore wrong about flat Earth. Next is Alex Stein. Primetime 99 Alex Stein.
Sorry, let me just stop this a second. Now, lots of people that do debates, they prepare an opening statement and stuff like that, and they literally just read that, so that's not, so, him obviously just reading this that's not a red flag at all, okay? I mean, I've watched enough of these debate shows, but that said, I will just say this, that Will Duffy's talking points and things like that are very scripted. They are. And anybody that has listened to him and the pace and how he talks and stuff like that, very, very scripted. No different than Edward Snowden. No different. So, and here he is, he's basically saying, look at all these catches that we got, all these people that were flat earthers. The first person that was on Eric Dubé and Jaron Campanella, and it's, And then we're going to see that he mentions, I believe he mentions Paul on the plane, and he mentions, of course, Robbie Davidson. Now, the funny thing is I guess that when this happened, I'm not sure if Robbie had even necessarily come out. I don't know. You can figure all that out, but let's just keep listening.
Including participating in many debates on the topic on the Modern Day Debate channel. Alex Stein was also offered a free trip to Antarctica from political commentator Tim Pool, but elected not to join us. And although he...
And who is trusting Alex Stein? Why? Didn't Alex Stein do a show with Jaron at one point? Coincidence. That's probably a coincidence. I'm not even joking.
Did not join us, he has done the right thing in accepting the evidence and firsthand testimony we brought back of the 24-hour sun in Antarctica, and now acknowledges that flat Earth is false. Next is Robbie Davidson, who runs the very popular YouTube channel Celebrate Truth, which has over 150,000 subscribers. He is one of the OG flat earthers who has really been around since the beginning of the modern day flat earth movement. Then there is Nick Havoc. He had been a flat earther for 9 years, but is now so thankful for the final experiment, which has brought him the truth, so he no longer has to believe and defend a lie. Then there's Mellow Dome, Austin Thompson, Stefan Driver, Shifty Eyes Shady, Rose 777, David Conklin. There was even an entire small flat earth group who all gave up flat earth after TFE. The list goes on and on. There are far too many to name, and there are many who have asked me to not mention their name. This exodus will continue until a flat earther can show how TFE's experiments and observations can work on a flat earth.
Now, what's so funny is that regardless of what you think about anything, he's already had a conversation with Joseph Hanvey. Maybe Joseph Hanvey's model is nonsense. I actually, I don't put much stock in it, but he actually has shown how that possibly could work. So he's like, unless they get, well, no, actually we did. But regardless, throw that out. I don't care about any of that. None at all. I don't care. Okay. So here's Will Duffy. He's basically saying, we got all these catches. We got Rose 777. We got Robbie Davidson. We got Paul on the plane and all this other stuff. Okay. So, and now while we're showing you today, it's like, well, that's a little too convenient, isn't it? Meanwhile, I've been saying for a while, and no one wants to talk about it, and certainly nobody's calling Marty Leeds up to talk about this. And once again, for this conversation, I'm back on the ball, guys. Gravity. ISS, 17,500 miles an hour. Sun, 93 million miles away, except during perihelion and aphelion. Then we're closer in winter, whatever. I believe that. I believe it. Earth, tilted. That's it. We're back on the ball. Now, and then I said, okay, back on the ball. Explain to me squishy pants, son, because this is what I'm calling it. We have a bunch of 24-hour footage of the sun in the north. We have 2 videos of the sun in the south. One by the same guy, I forget what his name was. Please, somebody in the chat, if you would, post his name or totally space at his name. And we see the sun is squishing. Now, I prefer my sun to be the golden circular disc sun that God made, but apparently when you go south and you hang out with a guy who's got a bunch of SEC violations and what we know to be now is an absolute degenerate piece of shit, God bless you. This is what they came up. This is what they saw. They saw the squishy pants sun. Well, back on the ball with you guys. I'm upside down with you in Antarctica right now, and I'm sticking to that spinning ball due to the gravitational forces of the blah, 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 blah. Now I want to know, why do we have a squishy pants sun? Whoop! Oh, it's kind of ovular and doesn't, and there's... Anyway, I'll go my whole life, and I'm guessing God's going to give me that answer. Because it doesn't happen in the north. Very circular. Very golden. We get the white sun here. White, and then we get the golden sun here. And it doesn't do. And it gets really close, even gets close to like the atmosphere and the horizon, and it's not doing the squishy pants thing. I want a squishy pants sun in the north. God. So there's that. So what we're expected to believe, apparently, let me wait. Let's watch this. And then we got to go. So, and then we'll finalize this, and I'll be reaching out. I'll read this final thing here, and then we'll really, put the cherry on top of this thing. A Texas company recently, and this is about a 2-minute clip, 2.5 or something like that. A Texas company, a private company, allegedly just landed on the moon. Did anybody hear of this? I didn't hear of it. In fact, I just randomly came across it on a YouTube channel. Otherwise, I hadn't heard of any of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch this. Okay, that's it.
Tonight, marvelous views of the moon. The close-up captured this week by a spacecraft.
That's not the CGI. That's the footage from Firefly Aerospace, a private company that just went to the moon.
Owned by a Texas company. Today, it became the second to land a privately built spacecraft on the lunar surface and the first to land one upright. Here's CBS's Mark Strassman.
Y'all stuck the landing. We're on the moon.
The landing, flawless. The first pictures, stunning. Firefly's Blue Ghost lander casting a shadow.
Isn't it funny that they have to tell you that this is stunning? It's not stunning at all. Like they've got to look at the stunning picture. Why are you telling me it's stunning? That looks like I could have made that on freaking Microsoft Paint or something. Anyway.
Across the lunar surface. In the distance, the Earth and all of us 240,000 miles away.
I'm so proud of that lander and the team that built it. It's incredible.
Ray Allensworth is spacecraft program director at Firefly Aerospace.
All right, go ahead. Yeah.
We first met her and her company's Blue Ghost lunar lander 3 months ago. 6 feet tall, 11 feet wide. With
so there it is. That's what. This is, once again, I'm back on the ball. Shit, I forgot. Okay, this is what I believe. I believe this went to the moon. And I'm going to, in fact, hopefully tonight, MC Toon and Dave McKeegan would like to do a live stream together with me. And then we would like to know, what are those stickers made out of? Is that 10-year vinyl? Is this like, you know what? This looks good to me. I'm just saying, because I'm back on the ball. Like, if you guys are making fun of this, you guys are dummy heads.
4 landing legs now touching lunar dust.
So there are cameras distributed basically all the way around the lander.
Launched in January, Blue Ghost cameras captured video of its journey from Earth to lunar orbit. Its mission, delivered 10 payloads to the lunar surface for NASA.
So if we kind of look down, you see over there, you see that spout kind of coming down?
I do.
So that's the drill, and it will deploy down and go into the lunar surface.
This drill will try to penetrate 9 feet below the surface to measure temperature. Another experiment will vacuum up loose lunar rock and dust.
Our payloads are collecting data so we can figure out what does it feel like to be on the lunar surface, to operate on the lunar surface. So all that data will inform when we actually return humans to the moon.
It really does open up a whole new way.
Okay, is that enough, right? I mean, is that enough? So accordingly, what we're going to be asked to believe, all of us flat earthers, that Robbie Davidson, Paul LaPlante, and Patricia Steere, who were all involved in a crypto scam, and they fully admit that they're involved in a crypto scam. They fully admitted that nothing happened to them, and that their re-entrance into the flat earth cult and telling us that it's a globe now is completely organic. Nothing to be seen there. Just forget about all this, guys. And we're supposed to believe that shit. That's what we're asked to believe. Now, once again, for this live stream, yeah, I believe that. Yeah, shit, why not? You know? Why? Because I want to just be so charitable. I want to grant them everything possible so that we can get to the bottom of this and make one lick of fucking sense of any of this. Now, most people that have, once again, a couple ping pong balls up in their old head there called brain cells playing pong up there can start volleying these ideas back and forth and saying, well, if this was some sort of court case and you were on a jury trial and you were presented this, the Paul LaPlante, that there's nothing to see here. Their involvement in that crypto thing and losing their ass, and next thing you know, all coming out together, there's nothing to see here. If you were on that jury trial, would you believe them? Or would you believe, well, actually, that is motive, that is intent, that would be the threats. We'd see exactly who would have probably got to them. In fact, members of people of, the government that's involved with the SEC, of course, they wouldn't even have to have any, if they were charged, they wouldn't even have to be charged or anything like that, because instead of charging you guys, maybe you could just play along with this little thing that we got going here. I don't know. Let me say it again. I don't know. But I know this, that they're trying to make an arse out of you. They're going to show you a private lunar module caked in gold leaf and 10-year vinyl stickers that looks like it was made prior to 1969. Not only that, they're going to call the Australian research and space exploration the slang for your ass. We're supposed to believe that there's nothing to see there, that Will Duffy and his heap loads of financial issues, that there's nothing to see there, and then that went to the moon. That's what we're supposed to take. That's what they're going to ask us to be. Yes. Okay. Again, I'll believe you guys. You don't need to attack me. I'll be there. I'll believe you. And then I guess I'll believe this too. The Star of David's pattern emergence from deep space in the stunning image of Capella. Capella is in Auriga, which is the constellation of a charioteer or a shepherd. A shepherd. Capella is in a shepherd. Anyway. So, and we're supposed to believe that too. Cool, I'll believe that. I know you guys are not gonna. I know. And I'm really upsetting you today, but I'll believe you. Even though it's getting real Schumery around here, isn't it? It's getting real Schumery around here. You know what I came away from this? Especially after I started hearing all these talking points, and I realized that, oh, well, you know what? I know it might be crazy. I think they faked a sun in Antarctica. I think that's what they've been doing. Yes, very much so. Maybe that's crazy. That's fine. Lots of people think I'm crazy. Lots of people think I'm crazy for believing in God, let alone this. Fine, that's no problem. But one thing I learned after listening to these talking points, after listening to what Robbie had to say and what he's posting and what Paul had to say, do you know what I was like? Oh, guess what? The AE map is over, guys. The AE map is no good. I have no faith in the AE map. We might as well throw the AE map out. I mean, Jesus Christ, this experiment or observation or 24-hour SEC violation group. Well, I don't know what it was, but guess what? You know what they want to tell us? The AE map is no good. You know what that tells me? That shit's solid fucking gold. I've never been a map guy. And you guys know this. You've heard me. I've got the history to prove it. I was always like, well, I don't know. There's a lot more discoveries we have to do. We haven't been to a lot of the places in the ice wall or Antarctica or whatever. We still got to, there's a lot of, we just got going on this in 2015, 2016. I mean, I expect it would take 10, 20, 30 years to actually get some reasonable answers for some of this stuff. Now, because they're attacking this so much, I'm like, that shit right there. I'm an AE map guy now. I mean, no, I'm on the ball. But, you get what I'm saying. So, and this here, how basically, and I even said, it's like, well, we can't really know. It's like, we're really not going to know what's going on in the heavens. And I'm still there. It's an apparent sun, and that's metaphysical, and it's beyond us even doing any science on that and stuff like this. But it seems like they don't really want us to know that generally how Dave's app is there. That's essentially, astrolabe, that's essentially what's going on our flat stationary AE map of the Earth. That. Look, you can think it's stupid to think that we're on this. You can think it's stupid. But once again, that's just my religious belief. Okay? So once this idea was starting rolling around and, oh God, did I freaking lose the one thing I need right now? Is there a piece of paper around here? Is this it here? Oh my Lord. Good Lord, give me a second here. On the dog bed. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Sorry. It's going on 3 hours. Right? You can't expect everything to be fluid. So then I said, wow, what would make these guys switch from 5 to 8, 10 years, whatever it was, of being so adamant, so vehement about flat Earth, to switch them so much so and then not be open and talk and not explain themselves and all do the same talking points and all coming out at once? What would possibly convince them to do that? I don't know, maybe a threat from the government. Maybe you're going to prison the rest of your life. Paul, your wife never liked it, did she? So I put this out to my audience and I said, hey, if the government came on you and said, hey, you better shut up about the truth, would you shut up? I asked a bunch of people, and you know what they said? Yeah. If it came down to protecting my family, yeah, I would play along. I would do the thing. And I said, yeah, I totally understand that. Yeah, I totally get it. I'm 100% in agreement with you as far as like, yeah, you got to protect your family. But I also said this, if you don't stop it, you won't have a family. Oh, harsh words from Marty Leeds today. Getting right to the core of things. You guys, if we don't stop this, there won't be a family for you to protect. They'll make sure your family's dead, your traditions are dead, your race is dead. You'll be vaxxed and masked and fucking crawling around on on all fours. You guys seen some of that stuff, some of those videos from Syria and Gaza Strip? And I'm sitting here saying, guess what? Ooh, this is why people don't like coming to the Gnostic Academy. Because I'm saying that's coming to your fucking doorstep. And so you either say, hey, there are men that used to be able to leave their families, say, hey, honey, you know what? I may never see you and little Jimmy and little Bobby ever again, but I've got to go fight that war because if not, they're not going to have a fucking ground to stand on. And they were willing to do that to give their life up for their country, their nation, their family, their future. Now we got a bunch of men that won't even go out and say an uncomfortable thing in public because they're scared. So let's get back to that first part of this live stream where I said Marty's taking a sabbatical. Now you know why. So I sent this out to my congregation, and this is what somebody had said, and I totally understand. I get it. No ripping on anybody here. My personal take on the matter is that something obviously happened to Jaron, and as we can see, probably these guys. You don't just flip on this stuff. You don't just forego your spiritual, your religious understanding, all of the science, everything that you've been talking about and spreading for how many years on the drop of a hat and be like, well, I'm just not going to explain myself. Final observation. I don't think he has been a deep state plant this whole time. Do I? Maybe, but I don't think so. I think something happened to him. So do I. And maybe now we have some insights into what that is. Maybe not. I don't know. Possibly on the trip to Antarctica, I also think that even though he hasn't gone to the globe, I actually think he has now, something as well happened to Austin. Not sure. I'm not sure. I guess we'll see who contacts me after this. I guess we'll see. We'll see right away who's willing to just, I'll talk, Marty, and who starts shutting up, starts dancing around these fucking topics. We'll see real quick, won't we? Like I said, I didn't even need to do this today. Considering the awareness that the opposition to Flat Earth is very, very powerful and likely demonic, yes, but as I said, flimsy as fuck. I find it entirely logical that they use threats and blackmail to turn people. Is that something that the government does? I think one of their main goals right now is to shut down Dave's app, as it's reaching far too many people and the word is spreading too fast and there's too much damning evidence being posted there. A simple direct threat against Jaron's family, or a threat of taking his kids away, or maybe some other indiscretions that we know he has. Maybe that was very powerful to lead him to say, hey, you either play along or your life's fucking over. Now for us that actually have God within us, we're like, our life isn't over, dude. That's not even a threat. There's no logic to flipping back to the globe unless you have a ton more evidence than a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Duh. That's obvious. So I think what we are and what we've been seeing is possibly a very methodical CIA-type covert intervention in the movement, for lack of a better term. And who do they come after? Dave Weiss? As far as we can tell? Mark Sargent? I would not be surprised to see more flipping because of direct threats of blackmail, violence, or death threats against them and their families. Would they say anything? Would they ever admit it? Robbie Davidson, before Jaron even goes live, one of the first comments is, celebrate truth, which now is Flat Earth is a cult or something, I'm not sure. Now what is he saying? There'll be more of us coming out. Interesting. There's also the possibility of MK Ultra, type of conditioning and stuff like that, which all of us know that this is what they do. I cannot even begin to understand how any of that actually works. Me neither. I don't even know if I want to. We speak very openly and honestly about these things in our tiny little church group, but I have a feeling if they threatened me or my family in any way that made me shit my pants, I would likely drop off the map too. I agree, but I guess there would be a difference of dropping off the map and then working directly with them and starting to promote lies. Literally promotion of Satan. In a Christian context, that's what you're doing. I'm not a content producer, and although I have thought about it over the past 5 years to 10 years, something has held me in back from moving into the spotlight. I'm a very strong man when it comes to my convictions, but I'm an even stronger protector of my family, and I'm a self-preservationist. And I'm just here to tell you guys, it's just, we have, as we said, we have to think 7 generations in the future. Otherwise, your family that you raise, they won't even be able to protect themselves. I didn't want to do this live stream today. Let me say that again. I didn't want to do this live stream today. I know, where am I? Doesn't matter. People I've known and been friends with 30 plus years, they're also stuck in their paradigms. Most are just too busy bashing political news stories and other stupid shit. They run CNN in the lunchrooms at school. Their brains seem to be irreversibly hardwired. I would quickly become the local pariah if I were to walk through Christ. You'd quickly become the Christ. If you went out and told people the truth, and the world would hate you. I'm glad this church hasn't exploded into massive numbers yet. My guess would be that if it would find itself in the crosshairs pretty quickly if it went viral. Slow and steady wins the race. We already won this race, dude. Why? Because we've just been living in truth our entire lives. Well, at least as soon as we figured it out. You know what that is? Hashtag winning. Thanks for allowing me the space to share the ideas and vent. I pray for all of us in this church and love you all for the way you guys support one another. So I'm here to say this, and this is just something that we all kind of need to know, and this is why I sort of started with this about like the only thing that you take with you is your consciousness, right? And so I guess I'll just say this, like, maybe there was a deal made, right? Maybe the SEC and some people within the government came to Paul on the plane and Robbie Davidson and said, hey, you either play along or you're never seeing your daughter again. Paul on the plane, your wife never liked this anyway. Yeah, it's going to be better for you. We'll make sure that, all these violations will go away. Hey, maybe we'll even, I don't know, I'm just top of my head, just making this shit up as I'm going. Maybe we'll let you know about some investments in the future that are going to do really, really well. And then it'll look like you just naturally made this money. They won't be paid off. Maybe they came to them with a deal and said, hey, you play along and you start attacking God's cosmology. Here's your talking points. AEMAP's dead. The observations made you switch. Flat Earth is a cult. You just keep saying that shit. And you'll be free and clear the rest of your life. You'll have your house. You won't lose your house. You can, you'll be free. All you have to do is just continue to play along. And that was the deal that the government gave them. Well, the covenant that we make with God is that whatever you do here, that's on your consciousness, and you'll have to take that across the gates of death and hand that over. I know that. I didn't know that for the longest time. Now I know that. I'm like, oh shit, that means I could be upright, right? I'm still a fuck up too, so that's fine. But so they know. So that was the deal. It's like, hey, you play along, and you'll have your freedom and all of that sort of stuff. And maybe we won't send those, those indiscretions from Jaron out to people. Blah 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 blah. So that's the deal that the government made. What's the deal that God makes? Hypothetical. Just spitballing here. What if they did come to them and say, hey, this is what's happening, you're going to jail? And then what if you said, oh, I signed this NDA and I basically made this contract with these people and said, I'm going to play along, Flat Earth is a cult and that sort of stuff. What if you came out and actually told people what happened? Robbie, Paul, you'll go to jail. I can almost guarantee it. But you know what else you would be? A hero. Heroes. I would even go so far as to say, shit, if I was God and I saw those guys, they signed the dotted line, they played ball because they were scared fucking shitless. If I was God and I saw, and then they turned and actually said, no, it's a scam. I'm going to let everybody know. I'm going to take this to my grave. If I was God, I'd be like, shit, you're in line to be a saint, son. Saint Robbie Davidson. That's not a joke. That's not a joke. Saint Paul on the plane. You'd go to jail for the rest of your life. I'm going to almost guarantee it. You probably wouldn't see your family, except when you cross the gates of death, because we believe that anyway, right? Interesting. There's that. I would say God has a better deal. God's offering you a way, way better deal. You can spend the rest of your life living a lie with a consciousness growing and growing in the weight of your shoulders, knowing that you played the role of Judas Iscariot, and you can take that all the way to your grave. And then after that, who gives a shit who Marty Leeds is or anybody in the Flat Earth movement or blah, 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 blah. Who cares about any of that? What you're going to have to concern yourself with is what God thinks. So you're going to have to take that life of a lie, selling out, doing this, and then you're going to have to take that up to God. Or God has a better offer. Just live in my truth. My children, please. Just live in my truth. I will get you. Don't worry. It might be a little rough for a while. But bloody hell, when you get done with this thing, come here, young lamb. Talking about the pearly gates swinging open for those motherfuckers. Will that happen? I'm not betting on it. I'm not betting on that at all. I do know this, though. As I said before, everybody already has this. There's no way any of you are ever going to be able to convince any of these people that there's nothing to see here. And this shit ain't over. You guys want to think if this is what happened, you guys want to think if I just play ball and this will be cool and I can just go to live my life and I'll just let this all pass and it'll be behind me. You're deluding yourselves in a very, very, in a way that is, you're deluding yourself about the divinity of what's actually going on here, you know. So, again, Marty Leeds, who's on the dumb globe earth again, and gravity and all of that sort of, I just want to know about Squishy Squishy Pants Son. That's it. Could somebody please explain to me why the Squishy Squishy Pants Son? Okay. Guys, shit's flat as fuck. It's very clear to me now that their Sky story, this is somebody at, I think this is, I won't say their name. It's very clear to me now that their Sky story is the most important thing for them to keep in place. Marty's teachings on the Bible and the Sky Clock and Zodiac and how they all tie together absolutely wreck the paradigm that is currently in place. Amen. And this is why moving forward, if you're not talking about this shit, you're suspect in my eyes. This was so exciting and fun when I came across in 2018, and it brought me so much peace because when I was a child, I knew something wasn't right, just like Paul and the Plains child. About the solar system and how they knew everything. They knew all the things about our... Not only did it not make sense to me, I had no idea how to articulate that feeling of suspicion as a young child. Does this sound familiar, guys? All I wondered was how in the Hades they figured all that out. After a while, I realized how monumental this actually is for the direction of humanity and wondered if it was possible to see some sort of reckoning or turn of events that could become dangerous or chaotic, especially if the government had to really get involved. A day of reckoning begins by one person breaking an NDA. I don't know if this is what is happening now, but it kind of looks like a duck. Walks like a duck and talks like a duck and quacks like a duck. It's a fucking duck. It really is one of the biggest paradigm shifts away from the century of propaganda that has been laid on thick with the aid of media and tech. And may the good Lord guide us through all this and give us strength and peace and fellowship and lots of love to propagate through the ether to our fellow brothers and sisters, both globalists, globetards, and flirfers. Let's end with a prayer. Lord God, oh Lord, release me from this time with 10,000 damn devils dragging on my mind, where the flames down below grow up a hell so wide it torches every vacant soul on this earthly carnal ride. And every hot and hellish day that burns my every side ruffles up these well-worn wings as Satan chides my hide. And wide my arms do reach out to his glory up on high, to lead me to the place of birth made from my demise. And he tries, oh how he tries to bring me to his pit, a sad and weak and state of mind mired in the shit. But no more shall that devil ever turn my heart away, or burn down my temple, this holy vessel God made. For my pillars strong and made of brass, and never shall they move, and fall and tumble down below to the devil's eternal tomb. For these days my gait is walked in faith, and no longer the devil I fear. And towards his word and holy voice, my heart now turns its ear. All right, we're taking some time off. There'll be no service next Sunday. The next 3 Sundays, we're going to be playing some old videos. So, and I'm still available if anybody needs, obviously, from my people, anybody in the church, if you have some issues or anything like that, please do not ever hesitate to call or anything like that. I'm on sabbatical, but I don't abandon my people. So, but if you are just calling me to chat or something like that and I don't get back to you, it's because I didn't get fucking back to you. So there's that. If you would like to support our church, we have a private membership association. That's one of the best ways to support. That's the way that we could, grow if that's a thing in the future. Donations, Venmo, Buy Me a Coffee, Cash App, Subscribe Star. Really appreciate everybody that does support on the the multiple platforms that we have. We really appreciate it. And of course, you can donate via the website. I'm getting a headache now. It was too much this morning. Donate via the website. Yeah, you get it. Okay. And then, of course, 7781 County Road 3440, Mountain View, Missouri, 65548. And that is on a globe Earth. So if you want to look at you got to figure. Anyway, so we do have the documentaries on Rumble now. I don't know if I have all of them posted, but they are on Rumble because Rockfin said, get out of here. We don't care about our people. And, of course, we're streaming to YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, Podcast. Let me say this again. All of you people that showed up for this little, whatever it is, gossip flat earth session here today, and you're not going to show up anymore, please just don't show up again. This is for initiates. This is for people who are taking this shit seriously. This is for people who know the kind of position their pastor's in. And they're going to I'm fucking helping that guy. And, of course, you can get the sermons on David Schillweiss, Flat Earth Rabbi's Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac app. His stupid little app, his gay little app, I just love ripping on David, so much fun, is the thing that's subverting their entire magic fucking show. So guess what? If he's got problems with his app and it had some leak and stuff like that, well, maybe you should stop complaining and maybe help the fucking guy out. It's DIY. There's some soldiers out here in this whole truther thing. Maybe you should start recognizing them. Am I making my passion plea here? Okay, church store, the things. Hey, we have a lot of educational material that's really paradigm shifting. If you'd like to support, cool, thanks. Anyway, prayer requests. We will still be doing prayer requests. I'm not going to be promoting them on the sermon here, but we will always do the prayer requests because of the lovely Amy. She's rock solid and is amazing. She collects the prayer requests. Hey, if you just need a shout out, like, hey, man, I'm having a rough week. I'm dealing with dick pics of Jaron in the back of my head and freaking SEC violations and all this other stuff. And it's a little bit much. Hey, Amy's got you. We got you there. So, and this is the prayers. Was it this week? I don't know. This was last week. I screwed this. Amy, I screwed this up twice. God bless it. If you would like to support the Gnostic Academy, 7781 County Road 3440, Mountain View, Missouri, 65548. We also have a private membership association, kind of. Private membership association, the people that want to see the value of the work that we do and keep it going. That's there for people. And, of course, we have donations, Venmo, Buy Me a Coffee, Cash App, Subscribe Star, and all the things. Let's play a little tune.